necessitated providing for this appeal, constitutionality.
Were these cases discussed in Parliament? Because you haven't provided us the reports, or is this your personal opinion?
This is something which has happened over the years.
No, it may have happened. Nobody's going to get into that. The question is, were these cases discussed in Parliament? Were they discussed? Did they form the basis of why this law had to come? Because that's what we're hearing this case.
Referring the cases from the Tamizuddin Khan case, वहाँ से लेके तमाम ये नुसरत भुट्टो केस और फिर ये रेकोडिक केस और सुप्रीम कोर्ट बार केस और ये फिर अकामा केस जो है और फिर ये हुदैबिया केस सारे लेके आप हमें ये चार्जशीट करना चाह रहे हैं कि सुप्रीम कोर्ट ने इन तमाम को देखने के बाद जो को कॉम्पिटेंस नहीं थी उसने लॉ बना दिया और अब हम उसे लेजिटिमेट कर दें. You want to invoke us the doctrine of necessity to legitimate this law?
No, sir. No, sir.
I think Mr. Attorney General, I think हमें थोड़ा सा हौसला रखना चाहिए सुनने के लिए तनकीद. I don't think you use the word charge sheet.
I have not.
You are simply stating a fact, and we should have the patience to hear your submissions. Your submission is, from what you have just commenced by stating, that 184.3 may have done some very good work as well, but 184.3's consequences have also been, I don't want to use the word disastrous, but maybe not so good. So you're just stating that Parliament does not have to mention each and every case, but this is the cumulative understanding. I mean, you don't have to spell out everything. Tamizuddin Khan was not 184.3, etc., but these cases were. So you are just stating a fact, and we should be sort of have the wherewithal to accept it. I mean, we were a council at some stage, and we are judges now, and we are citizens always. So if someone is stating a historical fact to build the argument why 184.3 may have been given a right of appeal, so let us hear him with patience. And if you don't agree with that, by all means, write judgments, whichever you want to, but at least please continue. I mean, otherwise we'll be forever. I mean, you didn't do this thing. You are saying we did it, and you're just pointing, showing us the mirror. Fine, I have no problem you to show me a mirror about all the judgments I have passed which are wrong. I have absolutely no problem. I would say thank you. I may learn from it, and I won't commit the same error or mistake again. So please proceed.
Mr. Attorney General, the question still remains, which I've already put before you, whether the court did good or whether the court did bad, and beauty may lie in the eye of the beholder, and there may be people who say this was good and that was bad and that was not so good and that was not so bad, and we can carry on ad nauseum. This is not a debating society. We are not sitting here to receive a public lecture from you, sir. You are Attorney General. Kindly tell us what is...
If there was a remedy of appeal.
Sawal sun lein.
If there was a remedy of appeal.
What does that have to do with the...
These consequences could have been averted.
What does that have to do with the legislative competence of the...
I have, as I stated, my lord, I have already made submissions to it. I am referring to what yesterday Justice Hilali...
There is legislative competence, तो बात खत्म हो गई.
जी.
आप हमें ये necessity दे रहे हैं.
ये इसलिए जरूरी है सर कि ये आपके पास अभी not long ago record date के ऊपर under 186 you had to come and protect what had happened.
Then the question that my learned colleague has asked you, that becomes relevant. आप हमें बात कीजिए लेजिस्लेटिव कॉम्पिटेंस की. आप हमें कन्विंस कीजिए कि आपके मुताबिक आप कह दीजिए वो सब गलत कह रहे हैं, बात खत्म हो गई. आई डोंट हैव टू डू एनीथिंग, ओनस लाइज ऑन देम. You kindly tell us about legislative competence.
जस्टिस हिलाली ने एक कमेंट किया था, एक ऑब्जर्वेशन थी उनकी. उन्होंने कहा कि 184.3 जब एक्सरसाइज
Mr. Attorney General, I've been a counsel more years than I've been a judge, and I would always prefer that the judges let me complete my submissions. They may not accept my submissions, hear my submissions, and discard my submissions. But certainly your right of making a submission, I think, otherwise we don't need to give you a notice. We can decide the matter ourselves. So please proceed in your own way.
While concluding,
दो चीजें देख लेते हैं जी. ये तो यहाँ तक everyone agrees that there were certain issues regarding 184 which agitated or which disturbed the executive and the parliament. Fine. Point taken. Second point, the law that you enacted, that law, everyone agrees कि ठीक है, law में कोई ऐसी चीज नहीं है, बाज यहाँ होगी, लेकिन वो law, no one said कि ये law जो है ये किसी तरीके से infringe कर रहा है आपके fundamental rights को as such, directly. असली जो मेन चीज आपने एड्रेस करनी है वो है उस लॉ की, आपकी जो लीगल कॉम्पिटेंस है, उस लेजिस्लेटिव कॉम्पिटेंस. आप प्लीज उस पे आ जाए.
My lord, I'll come to the question that you had raised before the
आप
proceeding.
अपने आर्ग्यूमेंट्स करें.
My lord, I have.
My question, take it at the end. पहले अपने आर्ग्यूमेंट्स खत्म करें. लाइक आप जो आप बोलना चाहते हैं प्लीज बोल.
बल्कि सारे क्वेश्चन का जवाब आप बाद में दे दें, पहले अपने
आर्ग्यूमेंट्स.
My lord, as far as provisions other than Section 5 are concerned, with regards to practice and procedure, I have submitted that the competence is drawn from Article 191, read with entry 58, and of course together read with 142A. 191 in itself acknowledges, recognizes Parliament's power to make laws with respect to practice and procedure. And the term law used in 191 does not in any manner exclude an act of parliament.
ये जो आप अगर एंट्री 58 को देखें, इसमें एंट्री 58 में आप किस उसमें आ रहे हैं? विद इन द लेजिस्लेटिव कॉम्पिटेंस ऑफ मजलिस शूरा,
Yes.
और रिलेट्स टू द फेडरेशन.
First part.
Okay,
And-
so your reliance on item 58 is directly dependent upon or flowing from your arguments that 191 confers legislative competence.
Yes.
Okay, point taken.
So this is the conclusion or some of what I have submitted on as far as legislative competence with respect to matters related to practice and procedure are concerned.
Okay.
Now, and then comes Section 5, which is a substantive right of which has been conferred, and which obviously, at least in my submission is that for that we have to go to entry 55. And entry 55, my lord, does two things. It empowers the Parliament to legislate with respect to jurisdiction and powers of all courts with respect to all the matters in the list, and to such extent as is expressly provided by or under the Constitution. As far as Supreme Court is concerned, it empowers the Parliament to only enlarge its jurisdiction and confer supplemental powers on it. So it does deal with Supreme Court's jurisdiction and powers, but only to enhance them, not to curtail them. But as far as other courts are concerned, both things can happen, subject to what is provided by or under the Constitution, the language of the Constitution.
So once that jurisdiction has been enlarged, that act cannot be repealed.
My lord, I was thinking about the question
Cannot
that
be
you were
taken away.
You mean to say that enlargement of jurisdiction includes right of appeal?
Yes, sir. Because this is the appellate jurisdiction of the Supreme Court, which exists in the Constitution, the appellate jurisdiction. It is that jurisdiction.
In fact, the
which has
original
been
jurisdiction has been enhanced. Under Article 184(3) is the original jurisdiction.
Original jurisdiction.
It has been enhanced by enlargement.
So my submission and my response to your question, my lord, is that nothing in Article 184 or 185 provide any extent to which they can be enlarged. Because they do not so there is no bar on the Parliament to the extent
Is
to
there
which that
any
jurisdiction
limit
can
of,
be enlarged.
is there any limit of enlargement because the right of appeal has been given with retrospective effect? There is no cut-off date and it is
Lord-
open-ended. This question was also asked by me to Mr.
Yes.
Salahuddin.
Yes.
Where it was not responded.
Mr. Attorney General, you have not given the details of express authorization.
Ji.
That
Ji.
requires your...
Ji. My lords may note Article 2121, subclauses A, B, C, and then read with clause 2 of Article 212 with respect to administrative courts. It does both things. It provides to the extent to which those courts will function, the powers those courts will exercise, and then in clause 2, it then places limits as well, that no other court shall then exercise such powers. Thus, what this clause 2 does is places limits on the Parliament's power. The extent of authorization with respect to administrative courts is thus then covered under clause 1, A, B, C, and then clause 2.
Related to the administrative tribunals and courts, how this
So this is all courts, sir?
helpful to you with regard to section 5, which has been introduced in the
जी,
new act?
वो अब इस पे मैं इसको जरा कंक्लूड कर लूँ इस बात को आगे. As far as article अब territorial jurisdiction, for example, of the High Court, वो extend हो
Section
सकती है.
5 is substitute of 185.
जी मैं उस पे आ रहा हूँ. मैं वो वाला पार्ट एक्सप्लेन कर रहा हूँ जो सवाल था आपका कि कहाँ वो बताई हुई है बाय और एक्सटेंड.
नहीं वो एडमिनिस्ट्रेटिव कोर्ट्स की बात
नहीं, मैं अभी जरा
वी आर टॉकिंग अबाउट द सुप्रीम कोर्ट
जी जी मैं उसी पे ही वापस आऊंगा ना जब मैं ये कंप्लीट करूंगा
विद रेफरेंस टू अपील.
जी जी. दूसरी जो एग्जांपल है, दूसरा इंस्टेंस, नॉट एग्जांपल, दूसरा जो इंस्टेंस है 192
सवाल और भी ले लीजिए. जब आप 184(3) की अपील देख रहे हैं और लेजिस्लेचर ने या पार्लियामेंट ने महसूस किया कि यहाँ पे एक राइट ऑफ अपील होना चाहिए, तो फिर 184(1) की क्यों नहीं अपील दी गई? उसके बारे में क्यों नहीं सोचा गया?
जी.
Why only 184(3)?
I'll address this. आप आर्टिकल 192 क्लॉज 5 देखेंगे.
Mr. Attorney General, to add to that, if your argument was taken on its face value that enlargement is unrestricted and there is no limit given, then do you think by a legislative instrument 2 other appeals can be provided under 185? Let's say उनका जी एक अपील जो है वो 3 मेंबर बेंच ने डिसमिस कर दिया है, उसके अगेंस्ट एक और अपील होगी जो 5 मेंबर बेंच सुनेगा, और वो अगर डिसमिस है तो एक और अपील होगी जो 7 मेंबर बेंच सुनेगा. बाय डेफिनेशन इफ देयर इज नो लिमिट, then you're just enhancing, and you're enhancing through a legislative instrument which finds no support from the Constitution.
Well, noted, my lord. I'll come back to this question. My lord, back to clause 5 of article 192, which permits through an act of parliament extension of high court's jurisdiction to areas beyond the provinces, which are not part of the province. So that is also...
You have already argued this point.
जी. So this is also an instance where the extent is provided by which the express authorization is provided. Now, as far as enlargement is concerned, now if I may, my lord, you have a question?
No, I'm just waiting for the answer of retrospectivity.
जी. Oh, there are so many questions and there is also उसमें problem ये होता है, my lord, कि उसमें फिर कोई एक question miss हो जाता है, and that is unfair to the lordship of that question.
एक मिसाल मैं देता हूँ जी साहब, बलूचिस्तान में पहले प्रोविंशियली एडमिनिस्ट्रेटिव ट्राइबल एरिया होते थे जो अभी अमेंडमेंट के तहत खत्म हो गई, तो हाई कोर्ट की जुरिस्डिक्शन वहाँ तक स्पेशली एक्सटेंड की गई थी. इनिशियली देयर वाज no jurisdiction, then subsequently it was enhanced.
उस पे तो कोई बार नहीं है.
तो वो एक्सटेंशन उस सूरत में होती है हाई कोर्ट. जी जी, जो आप कहते हैं हाई कोर्ट की jurisdiction to the areas which does not fall within the province, उन एरिया तक वो jurisdiction रहती है.
Yeah, so this is an authorization under the Constitution through an act of Parliament. My lord,
ये पहले retrospectivity की जरा जवाब दे दें.
retrospectivity to enlargement.
Yes, please continue.
Have I addressed your question? I have not.
I'm in no rush. Take your time. Take your time.
My lord, as
Mr.
far
Attorney General, answering a question and us finding your answer appropriate are two satisfactory are two different things.
Two different things.
So we may not agree with you.
Yes. I'm just hoping that I can persuade the majority. That's the
Should hope to everyone.
No, I want to persuade everyone, but because we are in full court.
That's a very lawyer's remark. Majority.
But after arguing for
that's
all of us
on the
put
right
together.
side.
No, I
As
understand.
Attorney General, you should say I should be able to convince the whole
No, because on full court, I have to go back to leadership, so
that's okay.
it is part of that. Retrospectivity. Now, my lord, I see the concern that my lords have on applying this law retrospectively and thus opening sort of doors to perhaps a lot of litigation. My Lord, there are several cases, many cases, which are no longer live issues.
Hey, before you even address this question, does this law state explicitly whether its application is prospective or retrospective? Does it state so?
Subsection 2 of Section 5, my lords.
Yes. जी पढ़िए.
Says the right of appeal under subsection 1 shall also be available to an aggrieved person against whom an order has been made under clause 3 of Article 184 of the Constitution prior to the commencement of this act.
Prior to the commencement. So its application is retrospective. ठीक है.
So,
and it excludes any order passed under Article 188, where a review has been decided.
Does it attend to what my lord is observing?
my lord,
No, does it, first of all, before your opinion, does the statute say anything, or it's silent on it?
it is silent on what happens if or what happens to the cases against which reviews were
No,
filed and
if it
decided.
is silent, it may not be appropriate for us to comment upon it. Or should we comment upon it?
My lord, if in my submission, because this might affect the people or the tenants if this law is upheld and declared intra vires, who may come before you relying upon this provision, and at that stage you will have to decide the maintainability of that appeal on the basis, which is to say whether a remedy of review, if it has already been exercised and not
After hearing that party,
yes,
who is not before us.
who's not. So that is why, my lord, if you permit me, that I do not make any submission as far as the proceedings which may have culminated into review and having been decided. So that is, this is something which,
Effect of the law?
What about
When it will be effective, from the date of its promulgation or with retrospective effect?
now, my lord, the language of subsection 2 is broad. It says prior to the commencement of this act, which then means, what it means is that, it go back in time and apply. Now, there has been at least one example and several others as well, but the National Accountability Ordinance, for example, Parliament chose to apply it from 1985, and in Asfanjar Wali, my lords found it to be constitutional. So, my submission is that, and this is something that I'm not stating on the basis of any data before me, I mean, I have no way to find out whether the case is decided in the 184.
Do you remember any law? Do you remember any law in which the right of appeal was given with retrospective effect in our country?
Top of my head, I can't. I think
Isn't it the principle, I may be wrong, correct me if I'm wrong, if it's a beneficial piece of legislation, its effect may be prospective, but if it casts onerous obligations on the subject, then it is always construed prospectively. So ये principle
है जो retrospective application से laws की, otherwise if it is to the detriment of any party, ये principle applies.
That is the branch of curative legislation.
So
You see,
when my lord,
it happens in curative legislation.
yes.
If the legislation is curative. But it is new law. You see,
My lord,
we have not made
I think
any amendment in the previous law. This is new law.
I think it's again, I think it will turn on something which if it has become a past and closed transaction in the sense that it is no longer a live matter. My lord,
Mr. Attorney General, I am again not very happy with this phrase or concept or idiom or legal concept of past and closed transactions. This is something also which has been determined, evolved by this court, or it is a jurisprudential principle of well-established jurisprudential principle of past and closed transactions.
My lords,
Can I add a small question?
yes, of course.
Where right of review has been exercised, does it takes away the right of appeal if the same is provided by the statute?
Your ladyship, a very important question. I think if I may, it does not. I mean, the grounds are completely different. Review is very narrow.
Or even if I think that's a valid question. एक जरा से इसको मैं rephrase कर दूं. An order has been passed. A person thinks, he simultaneously files both review and an appeal. Just to err on the side of caution, he thinks that, or she thinks that order can be reviewed because some error on the face of the record. But being very cautious, also simultaneously files an appeal. So if the review is not maintainable, it doesn't mean the appeal goes away or vice versa, which it's an interesting thought which ladyship has put forward. I just want developing the thought.
Doctrine of election will perhaps in that case, I mean, if it is exercised when both remedies are available.
Doctrine of election is available when two remedies are before you. Doctrine of election, when both remedies are available.
That's what I said.
But in this case, if the subsection 2 is sustained, then the persons who have already attempted for review and their reviews have been dismissed, they may also come and say that the right of appeal is a greater right than the review. So we are also entitled to file the review because this has been given with the retrospect.
They may, sir.
Yes, and they will be right.
They may, sir.
If they do so.
Yeah.
No, in my personal opinion.
That is what I think my lord would be dealing with when those matters or when any such matter comes before your lordship.
Speaking for myself, I think the language used by the legislature is very clear and it does not relate to an order passed under Article 188. So it's only when an order
My lord,
has
to
been
that
passed.
extent, if I may submit, my lords may give this finding if this law survives and if any matter comes before your lordship, my lords may give a finding. I mean, there would be a question of maintainability of that.
For instance, I'll give you a hard example of an actual case, which I believe there is some challenge to it. There is the famous case of the Prime Minister of Pakistan, Zulfikar Ali Bhutto case, where the matter was, a decision came by the Supreme Court where minority acquitted, majority maintained the conviction. Then came the review in which the minority joined hands with the majority and dismissed the review because the scope of the review was very extremely narrow. Surely we are not faulting the judgment of the minority who joined hands with the majority. However, if this law existed then surely that would say that our limited jurisdiction has now been expanded to an intra-court appeal jurisdiction, and now we can do so. So this is an actual case where the review usually doesn't happen, that the minority joins hands with the majority in dismissing the because its scope is limited, and this case is an actual case, and suppose this intra-court appeal right then existed, then surely the fact that the review was dismissed would not have, in my opinion, closed the doors to an appeal. How would you like to comment on that?
My lord, I bow before your lordship, but as I said, I think this is something which can be addressed in due course
on different
if
premises.
a matter comes before
Mr. Attorney
you.
General, that was entirely on different premises because the original jurisdiction was exercised by the High Court, then appeal was before this court, and subsequently there was review.
I completely agree with my learned brother, but I'm saying suppose you can still say okay, review not maintainable because I'm just giving you an example. Of course, that was not a 184 case, but I'm saying there could be a case where I say sorry, no case for review made out, but it may be a case for appeal still. I don't know.
Review आपकी dismiss हो जाती है for non-prosecution.
The election could
तो फिर अभी वो उसका देखिए, I think we should not touch this.
नहीं, और उसमें ये होगा कि सर,
I think we should leave this aside. We should leave this aside because actual cases may come up before us if we sustain the law.
in future, if the law is intra vires, and of course, both remedies will be available, an appeal under Section 5 and a review under Article 188, whatever the litigant elects first becomes his remedy and is precluded from exercising the other.
Okay, so we are in Section 5.
Yes.
Now, I have a question. Section 5 and this entire law is to practice and procedure. So,
Section 5, sir?
no, the entire law.
The rest.
Section 5, we are conferring jurisdiction appellate jurisdiction, which is by all intents and purposes and by all definitions a substantive.
That's right.
How do you bring it within the purview of procedural law to provide a substantive right?
My lord, a law may provide for, a law may provide for both the procedure and may contain some substantive provisions. What my lords had just observed, what has to be seen is whether there is legislative competence that exists for both. So my respectful submission, my lord, is that there is legislative competence for sections 1 through 4 and 6, 7 and 8 under 191. And then there is legislative competence under 55 for section 5. So both on that plane, the law we do not, the law can survive so long as there is independent legislative competence for both substantive provision and procedure.
At this stage, Letter Attorney General, how you respond to the objection of the petitioner that constitutional amendment was required for section 5?
My lord, as I just submitted that the entry 55, my lord, permits the Parliament with respect to Supreme Court to do two things, which is enlargement of its jurisdiction and conferring of supplemental powers. So the language which says except the Supreme Court, it in a way, what it does is it requires the Parliament to limit its legislation only to this extent, which is to say that Parliament cannot reduce the powers which the Constitution confers upon the Supreme Court, because the Supreme Court's powers are all provided in the Constitution. Unlike high courts, for example, where the original jurisdiction flows from the Constitution, but the appellate, review, revisional jurisdiction or original jurisdiction on civil side under various statutes flows from entry 55, Article 142A with entry 55.
So, Attorney General, just a question on...
It does not change the language or structure of 184.
My lord, in completing my submission on enlargement, because there is authorization, there is permission to enlarge jurisdiction, and there is no restriction in 184 or 185, by extending 185 to judgments and orders which are rendered under 184.3. Therefore, a legislation on the basis of entry 55 enlarging the jurisdiction of this appellate jurisdiction of this court and applying to judgments and orders under 184.3 is permissible.
So, coming back to my question, going by your thesis, then what is to prevent the Parliament from providing a second and third appeal in 185 through legislative, ordinary legislation, that we are extending the jurisdiction of the court by extending second, third, fourth appeals?
Very short answer, maybe, with respect. And when that happens, we look at it.
I think let the attorney...
No, yes, but I'm just saying.
My lord, my submission to that would be that, for now, this is the first appeal which is being provided under 184.3.
No, principle like settle कर रहे हैं ना कि आप extend कर सकते हैं एक constitutional appeal by ordinary legislation. So, I mean, by that token, if the Parliament tomorrow wants to provide second, third, fourth appeal, can it or can it not?
My lord, if I may,
does it have legislative competence to do that or not?
जी साहब, अगर आप 185(2) पढ़ लें तो शायद आपको जवाब मिले। 185(2) कॉन्स्टिट्यूशन से एन अपील, मीनिंग एन का क्या मतलब?
नहीं होगा नेक्स्ट टाइम।
क्या दूसरे अपील?
The question is different. The question is,
if I just give my submission in form of a question, that if through a constitutional amendment,
I'm not talking of constitutional.
No, I'm just if through a constitutional amendment, if the Parliament had provided under 184.3 that there would be a first appeal and then narrowing the scope of this and a second appeal, narrowing the scope of that second appeal as it is provided in its, Let's say, if it was done so.
Counsel, I take your point. My question is very, very simple. One, you say, in terms of item 55, you can enlarge the jurisdiction of the Supreme Court and there is no restriction on how far, how much, and since when. So by that token, it has untrammeled, unrestricted powers to enhance and enlarge jurisdiction of the court. So tomorrow, if the Parliament wants to provide a second and third appeal on your premise that there is no restriction, they can do that by saying we are enhancing the jurisdiction of the Supreme Court. Now onwards, in 185, there will be a second appeal, a third appeal, a fourth appeal. Can they jurisprudentially, are they competent to do that? And if they are, then say yes.
My Lord,
Mr. Sir, if I could just jump into this discussion, I think it's a very pertinent question and perhaps it might be subject to judicial review later on. But just a related question would be that when we read this, because this thing is slightly important to understand, this to such extent as expressly authorized, one reading of it shows that the word expressly was also underlined earlier. What does it mean? So to such extent as expressly authorized. So it means that there could be a possibility that it is not authorized. I mean, there is no extent given. Extent to such extent means that there might be an extent, but there might be no extent. So there could be situations where there is no extent, no press authorization is given, and the field is open.
Yes.
What do you say to that? I mean, it's not as if every provision, every jurisdiction will give an extent. As long as there is an extent, then Parliament is going to be regulated by that. But if there is no such extent expressly authorized, what do we do? I mean, then it's an...
if my Lord...
Constitution has not provided that extent.
My Lords may
so
kindly...
Constitution then allows the Parliament...
My Lords may kindly to Article 203(d), Clause 3. This will answer my Lord's question. 203(d), Clause 3.
Yes.
Now this says the court shall have such other jurisdiction as may be conferred on it by or under any law. So this then leaves it open to go as far, which the Federal Sharia Court can perhaps do. And then when Article 199, Clause 1, it does not provide any extent to, there is no authorization to what could be done with that jurisdiction. But
if you say, what you're saying is, now you're contradicting the whole premise of your case. अगर फेडरल शरीयत कोर्ट में ये प्रोविजन दी गई है तो यही चीज तो सुप्रीम कोर्ट के साथ भी होनी चाहिए थी। अगर हम आपकी बात माने तो फिर तो this provision जो आपने अभी
ये extent of authorization है of all courts. So Federal Sharia Court is all courts. तो सुप्रीम कोर्ट की हद तक तो वो अप्लाई नहीं करेगा।
नहीं, हम जो चीज आप देखें ना, ये कॉन्स्टिट्यूशन ने क्लियरली स्पेसिफाई कर दिया। तो अगर आपकी हम बात माने तो यही चीज सुप्रीम कोर्ट के साथ भी उन्हें स्पेसिफाई कर लेना चाहिए था कि आप जुरिस्डिक्शन को कर सकते हैं ना।
My Lord, ये इसका
नया जुरिस्डिक्शन
because with respect to other courts, with respect to all other courts, and my Lord will bear in mind that this Federal Sharia Court was an insertion later in time into 8th Amendment. But with respect to all other courts, the Parliament's power to legislate with respect to their jurisdiction and powers is broad. But with respect to Supreme Court, and this is the question that you had, that it begins by saying except the Supreme Court and then goes, and what I submit is enlargement of jurisdiction and conferment of supplemental powers. With respect to Supreme Court, Parliament can only enlarge.
That point is taken that we read this extent to the upper portion, but suppose if you were to even read it with the other, the reading of it shows that to such extent, the extent must be provided expressly. Suppose it's not provided, then what do we do?
Right. So if
184 doesn't give any extent of its jurisdiction.
My Lord, then because it says to such extent as is expressly authorized by or under, then what it does is that only, I mean, one reading of it is, and this is what my Lord Justice Ijaz has held.
If I may follow up on that question, there is perhaps another way to look at it. Suppose the word expressly were not there. Suppose it said to the extent authorized by or under the Constitution, then the possibility could arise that this could mean either express authorization or by necessary implication. Perhaps the insertion of the word expressly is targeting the possibility of removing, of there being no possibility of any authorization by way of implication, howsoever necessary it may be. Expressly means expressly, full stop.
And if
All implications are cut out on by use of this word. Had this word not been used, then we would be back in our traditional approach, expressly or by necessary implication.
And for example, just giving an example, clause 5 of Article 199. Now, this is the power of the High Court, where the High Court can issue writs. And the definition of person then excludes certain persons. The Supreme Court, no writ can be issued to the Supreme Court.
No, but that's an exclusion.
Yes.
मैं तो बात कर रहा हूँ ना कि एक्सप्रेसली अगर ना हो तो आप उसके अंदर समन को डाकिए कि भाई जो नॉर्मल तरीका होता है कि और कोर्ट्स के कई जजमेंट्स भी होते हैं एक्सप्रेसली और बाय नेसेसरी इम्प्लीकेशन, तो वो प्रिंसिपल शायद अप्लाई हो सकता है. बट जब एक्सप्रेसली कह दिया तो इम्प्लीकेशन खत्म हो गई. आपने एक्सप्रेस वर्ड्स दिखाने है या नहीं है, no matter how necessary it may be.
That's right.
Implication is out. Maybe
That's
that's
right.
one reason.
That's right. And that's why
What is your take on it?
जी मेरी take उस पे ये है कि
I'm not
that is
saying
why
it as I'm asking you a question.
जी
What's your
इसलिए
take on
I
it?
go back to what I was submitting with regards to entry 55, that the language list and to such extent as is expressly authorized by or under the Constitution is with respect to all courts. But for the Supreme Court, it is only enlargement and supplementary powers. And when we read it,
मैं आपसे पूछ रहा हूँ एक्सप्रेसली से डालने से, वो एक्सप्रेसली तो आप भी आपकी इंटरप्रिटेशन पे भी एक्सप्रेसली तो सुप्रीम कोर्ट को लगता है ना.
नहीं लगता है सर. That's what I'm saying.
के मुताबिक नहीं लगता.
नहीं लगता. That's what I've been arguing. कि सुप्रीम कोर्ट को नहीं लगेगा. सुप्रीम कोर्ट के लिए, बिकॉज सुप्रीम कोर्ट का जो सुप्रीम कोर्ट की हद तक
नहीं, हाई कोर्ट्स और बाकी कोर्ट्स को लगेगा.
इसलिए क्यों curtail कर सकते हैं?
वहाँ पे आपकी इंटरप्रिटेशन के मुताबिक एक्सप्रेस होना चाहिए.
यस.
और आपने एग्जांपल दी 192 की और उसकी
मैंने 212 की दी एग्जांपल. एडमिनिस्ट्रेटिव
212
कोर्ट
में तो एक्सप्रेस ऑथराइजेशन तो नहीं है ना.
नहीं सर, 212 के अंदर तो ये बता दिया ना टू व्हाट एक्सटेंट A, B and C, and then वहाँ ये भी बता दिया कि
वो आप कह रहे हैं ट्रिब्यूनल्स
जी एडमिनिस्ट्रेटिव कोर्ट्स एंड ट्रिब्यूनल्स. एंड 199 का फॉर एग्जांपल 199 का ये कह दिया कि
ट्रिब्यूनल्स के हवाले से अगर आप देखें ना, ट्रिब्यूनल्स के हवाले से आपने एंट्री देखी है
जी एडमिनिस्ट्रेटिव कोर्ट्स एंड ट्रिब्यूनल्स.
हाँ,
यस
वो भी तो एक एंट्री है ना.
जी बिल्कुल.
वो 212 के लिए तो एक्सप्रेस की जरूरत ही नहीं है, वो तो एक्सप्रेसिव एक एंट्री है.
ये Learned Attorney General,
फॉर फेडरल सब्जेक्ट्स. यस.
as I understand, this is in the context of curtailment of jurisdiction as well. Supreme Court, this entry itself, it is part of the Constitution and it expressly authorizes the Parliament to enlarge its jurisdiction. This in itself is an express authorization. So you don't even have to look anywhere else. This in itself is an express authorization to enlarge the jurisdiction.
ये आपने jurisdiction की बात कर रहे हैं. एक पॉइंट जरा आप लोगों आपने इन पासिंग कर दिया फेडरल शरीयत कोर्ट का और शरीयत अपीलेट बेंच ऑफ द सुप्रीम कोर्ट का. अगर आप इस पर अगर आप ज़रा ज़्यादा गहरी नज़र रखिए तो जब ये अदालतें बनाई गई, ये इख्तियारात जो थे अदालतों के पास उनसे ले लिए गए. अगर आपको याद है वो जो इंटरेस्ट को स्ट्राइक डाउन किया था सिंध हाई कोर्ट ने, वो सिंध हाई कोर्ट ने ओरिजिनल सिविल जुरिसडिक्शन में किया था. तो यहाँ तो जुरिसडिक्शन हाई कोर्ट की और सुप्रीम कोर्ट की ले ली गई, क्योंकि ये कहीं नहीं लिखा था कि हाई कोर्ट और सुप्रीम कोर्ट अगर कोई कानून कुरान और सुन्ना के तसादुम में है तो उसको स्ट्राइक डाउन नहीं कर सकता है. तो वो जुरिसडिक्शन तो ली गई, ठीक है. ये वहाँ तो कोई एंट्री नहीं थी, कोई फेडरल लेजिस्लेटिव लिस्ट नहीं थी. मगर अब देखिए फिर वही बात आती है तारीख की, वो काम जो एक जबर से होता है और मार्शल लॉ एडमिनिस्ट्रेटर जिसका इस्लाम में कोई कॉन्सेप्ट ही नहीं मौजूद है, वो तो हम देते हैं, फिर हम उसको सिर्फ इस तरीके से बचाते हैं कि कॉन्स्टिट्यूशन अमेंडमेंट वो एक्स पोस्ट फैक्टो हो गया है, ठीक है, उसके तहत नहीं आता है, वो एक जनरल उसमें आ जाता है और वो एक हिस्सा बन जाता है आइन का। मगर अगर आप शुरू में देखें, वो तो इख्तियार छीने गए थे ना हाई कोर्ट से और सुप्रीम कोर्ट से, उनके मकासद क्या थे वो दूसरे थे, वो मकासद में भी नहीं जानते, मगर इख्तियार बढ़ाए तो नहीं गए थे, वो इख्तियार थे हाई कोर्ट के पास और सुप्रीम कोर्ट के पास, जिनको छीना गया और वो सराहा गया। क्यों? क्योंकि देखिए मुश्तरका सोच आई पार्लियामान से, ठीक है, यहाँ तो हम इतनी बारीकियों में, बार बार मैं कह रहा हूँ इतनी बारीकियों में जा रहे हैं, कभी कभी ये बारीकियों की बात उधर भी कर लिया करें, उधर तो एकदम सब लोग एक साथ हो गया, ठीक है। अब वो उनके बचा कैसे, वो 269, 70, 78 जो भी हैं उनसे बचे हैं, उनके तहत नहीं आए थे, तो उनको आप ऐसे बार बार जो मिसाल देते हैं ना फेडरल शरीयत कोर्ट की, तो वो भी तो पावर छीना गया था हाई कोर्ट से। यहाँ तो सुप्रीम कोर्ट से कोई पावर छीना नहीं जा रहा है, सुप्रीम कोर्ट को एक मजीद इख्तियार दिया जा रहा है। अगर आप तो लीजिए अपील नहीं पसंद है डिसमिस कर दीजिएगा। तो इसमें मुझे वो इनलार्जमेंट और आइन में तरमीम की बात, तो वो तरमीम और आइन तो हमने उस वक्त तो देखा नहीं, उस वक्त तो हमने कहा जी ठीक है, क्योंकि एक जाबिर ने कर दिया तो पूरी इस्लामी मुमलिकत खामोश रहे इस बात पे और उसको सराहे, क्योंकि हम तो पता नहीं फिर हमारे फिर दीन और ईमान और ये सारी बातें कहाँ चली जाती हैं। ये देखिए, ये ऐसी एक चीज को आप पकड़ लें बीच में से और कोई हिस्टोरिकल कॉन्टेक्स्ट ना दें और क्या लेटर पे चलेंगे, तो वो मुझे बताइए कि उसको फिर जस्टिफाई कैसे करेंगे। जो ज्यूरिसडिक्शन ले लिया गया था किस फेडरल लेजिस्लेटिव लिस्ट के तहत लिया गया था, कैसे लिया गया था, वो तो एक पूरा एक अलग उन्होंने पैरेलल सिस्टम खड़ा कर दिया, जो इख्तियारात ऑलरेडी मौजूद थे। आप समझ रहे हैं बात को?
अच्छा, चीफ साहब का सवाल हो गया, उनके बाद मेरे सवाल का जवाब दें। आई डोंट नो वेदर इट्स अ क्वेश्चन। ये आर्टिकल 191 स्टार्ट होता है सब्जेक्ट टू कॉन्स्टिट्यूशन एंड लॉ। So the powers of the Supreme Court in terms of making rules for conducting its own procedures have been made subservient to the Constitution and law. तो कॉन्स्टिट्यूशन में तो वो 239 आर्टिकल के नीचे पाबंदी उस पर लग जाती है, बट व्हेन इट सेज लॉ तो आई थिंक द डोर्स हैव बीन ओपन्ड कि कानून साजी जो है वो एक पार्लियामेंट ही कर सकती है ना। तो क्या वो 239 की पाबंदी यहाँ पर रह जाती है कि अनलेस देयर इज अ 2/3 मेजॉरिटी इन द काउंसिल ऑफ द टोटल मेंबरशिप ऑफ द पार्लियामेंट, तो आप अमेंडमेंट नहीं कर सकते कॉन्स्टिट्यूशन में। लेकिन जिस आर्टिकल में ये वर्ड्स लिखे गए हों, प्रॉबेबली उसमें आप कर सकते हो कि जहाँ पे पाबंदी है कि कॉन्स्टिट्यूशन को 2/3 मेजॉरिटी के बगैर आप उसको अमेंड किसी भी आर्टिकल को नहीं कर सकते। लेकिन इसमें लॉ को शामिल किया गया, तो लॉ तो वक्त के साथ साथ बदलता जाता है, उसमें अमेंडमेंट होती जाती है। तो डोंट यू थिंक दैट द बार ऑफ आर्टिकल 239 हैज बीन मेड फ्लेक्सिबल under this article?
Leadership, to the extent of practice procedure, there is no bar, there is no requirement.
What is constitution is there? That means subject to the constitution unless there is a 2/3. But when it says law, that means the law is enacted by the parliament. तो वो दरवाजे खुला छोड़े हुए हैं।
प्रैक्टिस एंड प्रोसीजर के लिए वो लिमिटेशन नहीं है, जो पिटिशनर्स ने आर्ग्यू भी किया है, एटलीस्ट टू द एक्सटेंट ऑफ, खैर उनका आर्ग्यूमेंट तो एंट्री 55 पे प्रैक्टिस एंड प्रोसीजर पे तो इंडिपेंडेंस ऑफ जुडिशरी का था।
मेरे ख्याल में आपके आर्गुमेंट्स को मैंने बंद करके आपको देखा।
थोड़ा सा मैं ये ऐड कर दूं उसके अंदर के जो 191 है, चूंकि वो प्रैक्टिस एंड प्रोसीजर से डील करता है और अपील के लिए मेरी सबमिशन है, मैं एंट्री 55 में जाना होगा। तो जो the part of entry 55 which is actually concerning, I think, everyone here, it is this extent of express authorization. Now, if we turn to Article 184, which is original jurisdiction, that need not detain us, but because it is Article 185 which is relevant here, and in order to see whether this part of entry 55, which says the extent authorization and the extent of authorization in any manner actually applies to the Supreme Court or not, by looking at the languages of 184, 85, 86, and then 88. Now, 184, there is nothing in 184 which says, or which either provides anything or restricts anything. 185, as far as 185 is concerned, 185 also specifically is not saying anywhere appeal can be provided to the Supreme Court from any court other than the High Court or other than the instance other than the High Court. Now,
my problem was that if we read it the way you say it and we read the extent provision with the upper part, so let's take any federal court, tribunal, whatever. So they want to go ahead and do something with it, change its jurisdiction, add to its jurisdiction, whatever. So they'll have to first look at the Constitution, see if they express provision, and then they'll do it. So they won't find any.
They only have to see whether there is any.
That's what I meant earlier.
Authorization.
They just have to see whether at all there's any limitation in the Constitution. If there isn't any, they're free to do whatever they want to do.
And limitation, my lords, would also see there is this High Court's original jurisdiction which is conferred upon it under 199.
Right.
High Court's appellate and other jurisdictions, they flow from statutes.
I mean, just take an example that we take any other court which is under the federal legislature and they want to do something to its jurisdiction, add to it, whatever. So they'll do what? They'll first look at the Constitution.
So they'll only look at the first part of it because...
Right. And then the extent is...
They're not constitutional courts. They're not created under the Constitution.
So that's nothing to do with this expression. This is only for High Court.
This is only for the court whose jurisdiction, other than jurisdiction, is flowing from the Constitution.
No, it says all courts.
Yes, all courts, but when you look at the Constitution is dealing with the High Courts, only the original jurisdiction of the High Courts, then the tribunals.
So you say it's limited, this extent.
So in that sense, this extent of authorization has to be read only in the context of the court or other than the Supreme Court to which this entry, this part of the entry is applying, the jurisdiction that the court is from. If it is getting from the Constitution itself, then this limitation will apply. But if it is a court which is a creation of a statute with respect to any of the matters in the list, then...
And you say this limitation also applies to a constitutional court because they could, reduce its jurisdiction or could do such a thing, which is not happening in the Supreme Court situation.
Which is not happening in the Supreme Court.
This also includes the Shariat Court. Shariat was previously dealing with narcotics cases. Then subsequently, when CNS was enacted, the jurisdiction of Shariat Court was taken away, and now it is with High Court.
Hello.
So it means Shariat Court jurisdiction can also be curtailed by Act of Parliament.
So with respect to Sharia Court, now it says clause 3 of 203DD says such other jurisdiction as may be prescribed in law. Now it is saying that there is a jurisdiction which has to be conferred. With the Sharia Court, the chapter provides what matters are to go to Sharia Court, what matters can the Sharia Court see. So this is all what the Constitution is providing. So there is here...
Initially, all the narcotics cases that will go to the Shariat Court. After promulgation of CNS Act, now the Shariat Court can't hear those cases, then those cases are lied to the High Courts. So it means the jurisdiction of Shariat Court has been taken away, and which can be done.
My lord, what we have to see then is we have to examine this chapter and see whether what is provided.
This cannot be done in the case of Supreme Court.
No, it cannot. It cannot be done in the case of Supreme Court because if we look at 185, my lord, look at 185. Now 185, unless we read enlargement part independent of the preceding part, then does not permit any appeal coming to the High Court from either the Competition Tribunal or the election tribunals or all the other instances where appeal has been provided to the Supreme Court. Because 185, there is no express authorization.
If you read it the way you're saying, then all those other
یہ 185 میں سپریم کورٹ کے آرڈر کا ذکر ہے.
سپریم کورٹ کے آرڈر کا
جی
سر اس میں
آپ یہ نا اگر آپ کہہ رہے ہیں کہ جی انلارج کر رہے ہیں آپ جورسڈکشن کو تو ایپلیٹ جورسڈکشن 185 میں دی ہوئی ہے جی ٹھیک اس کو انلارج کر رہے ہیں تو اب آپ سوچیں آپ کانسٹیٹیوشن کے ایک پروویژن کو وہاں پہ کر رہے ہیں. یہ تھوڑا سا اس پہ یا تو آپ صرف یہ بتا دیں کہ یہ جورسڈکشن پار کون سے ہیں جو نہیں ہو سکتے 55 کے نیچے.
when it says enlargement of jurisdiction
ریورس لینا آپ تو ایکسیپشنز پہ جا رہے ہیں ایکسیپٹ سپریم کورٹ when enlargement ہے ہم اس کو ریورس میں لیتے ہیں. آپ سٹارٹ کریں جہاں سے وہ سٹارٹ کر رہے ہیں کہ آپ پاور نہیں کر سکتے سپریم کو. وہ کون کون سی جورسڈکشنز ہیں جو نہیں کر سکتے
جو انلارج نہیں کر سکتے so I haven't got it.
آپ 55 کو پلیز ذرا پڑھ لیں.
Jurisdiction and powers of all courts. There's a comma then. Except the Supreme Court.
So you can't create jurisdiction or create any new powers of the Supreme Court. Fine.
Reduce نہیں کر
So اب جب آپ enhance نہیں کر سکتے reduce
Enhance کر سکتے ہیں.
وہ آپ کیسے کر سکتے ہیں؟
یہ سر یہ
وہ آپ دیکھیں نا وہ تو آپ کون سی ایک jurisdiction ہوگی جس کو آپ enlarge کر رہے ہیں نا.
Yes.
کون سی jurisdiction کو enlarge کر رہے ہیں؟
appellate jurisdiction کو enlarge کر
یعنی آپ 185 میں 184(3) کی provision کو لا رہے ہیں.
تو ہم یہ کر رہے ہیں کہ because 185 میں یہ limitation نہیں ہے because 185 میں اگر یہ ہو کہ for example 185 had said that in addition to what it says
پھر دیکھیں پھر اس کو دینے کی ضرورت ہی نہیں تھی. دیکھیں پھر تو آپ کسی بھی سپریم کورٹ کی پروویژنز دی ہوئی ہیں تو آپ کسی پروویژن کو بھی انہینس
اگر یہ
پھر تو آپ ہمیں وہ پھر تو there is nothing left to it.
اس کو اس طرح سے اگر دیکھیں اگر سمپل یہ ہوتا except the Supreme Court and the entry had ended where it says authorized by or under the Constitution full stop then we could not do anything.
نہیں اس میں اگر میں ایڈ کر دوں کہ یہ جو ابھی کر رہے ہیں اپیل this is 184(3) so آپ نے I raised this question earlier that if you provide an appeal in 184(3) it is not conferring a new jurisdiction, it's enlarging the jurisdiction of 184.
So that could be one way of looking at it, that you enlarge that jurisdiction and then you apply an appeal and there is no limitation under 185.
Where
no
there is
limitation
a
under
specific
185.
article of the Constitution providing an appeal, and that specific article is intact, it doesn't provide an appeal, then you cannot provide an appeal in another article by under the of enlargement. Because appeal is a separate jurisdiction. And
So you read 184 and 185 together and see whether there is any limitation.
Learned Attorney
Where there is
General.
a jurisdiction which exists and you extend it.
185 jurisdiction is not a jurisdiction in the form of an intra-court appeal against an order of the Supreme Court. So there's a distinction. Now here there is already an existing jurisdiction under 184(3). That is simply being enlarged.
My lord, you read both of them together. I'll just that's what I wanted to. My lord, with this, I think one last question I have to address. Ladyship, you had a question about full
اگر آپ کنکلوڈ کر لیں تو بہتر ہوگا.
بس میں وہ فل کوٹ والی بات yesterday Mr. Faisal Siddiqui had made submissions.
یہ اس میں مسٹر اٹارنی جنرل یہ سیکشن 6 جو ہے رائٹ ٹو اپوائنٹ کاؤنسل آف چوائس
جی
اس کا کیا مقصد ہے؟
My lord, this is something which can easily be addressed. Now, of course, you have Order 26, Rule 6, where in exceptional circumstances you grant this power.
نہیں یہاں اگر آپ رائٹ اس کو ٹو اپوائنٹ کاؤنسل آف ہز چوائس تو اس کا مطلب یہ ہے کہ کوئی نیا جو وکیل آئے گا وہ فل فلیج آرگومنٹ کرے گا تو جو اسپرٹ آف ریویو ہے جو کہ ابھی تک سیٹلڈ ہوا ہے بائی دس کورٹ وہ تو ختم ہو جائے گا.
This can be easily dealt with as I was submitting with the use. Now, my lord, with this provision,
وہ تو
my
آپ
lord
نے
can.
سیکشن 8 میں لکھ دیا ہوا ہے نا اٹ ہیز ٹو اوور رائڈ اینی ججمنٹ آف اینی کورٹ انکلوڈنگ دا سپریم کورٹ اور ہائی
کو میں ایکسپلین بھی کر دیتا ہوں اس کو یہ بھی ایکسپلین کر دیتا ہوں کہ ناؤ دیٹ وی ود دی ایڈوینٹ آف ٹیکنالوجی ایک تو یہ کہ ٹرانسکرپٹس بن جاتی ہے بٹ لیٹس لیو اٹ دیٹ aside. With this provision in mind, my lords can suitably amend Order 26 to say require the councils to file their written briefs, for example, in addition to the pleadings, they file their written
That
briefs.
is already given
So
in
that
the
will then
Supreme Court rules, and that depends upon the court. If feel like they can
इसको अब रेगुलेट करने के लिए, फर्दर करने के लिए कि इसको कैसे इफेक्ट देना है, उसका ये तरीका हो सकता है।
इसमें तो you have given it as a right.
जी जी, मैं वही कह रहा हूँ कि ये राइट नाउ, दिस इज अ राइट एट वन एंड एंड देयर इज अ डिफिकल्टी दैट यू हैव जस्ट पॉइंटेड आउट ऑफ द कोर्ट एट द अदर एंड, उसको बैलेंस किया जा सकता है।
अपील किया किसी और ने, रिव्यू दायर किया किसी और
मैं उसी को एक्सप्लेन तो कर,
वो कोर्ट के सामने फिर शुरू से
मैं यही मैं कह रहा हूँ,
सेकंड अपील
मैं यही कह रहा हूँ कि देन द कोर्ट विल गो बाय द वो रिटन सबमिशंस हो सकती है। दिस इज समथिंग व्हिच आई अप्रिशिएट द डिफिकल्टी दैट यू पॉइंटेड आउट।
Would that be a review stricto sensu, or that would be second appeal?
No. I mean, if it is in review, obviously for determining the review or deciding the review, the principles of review that you have in Order 26 will apply. Now, the only difficulty that my lord has pointed out, that there will be different counsel arguing that. I think in order to give effect to this section, Order 26,
fresh argument of the case.
वो उसमें my lord आप Order 26 Rule 6 में ये amendment कर दें कि जी beyond written pleadings nothing new would be entertained, and that will take care of everything.
Learned Attorney General, even if another litigant exercises the right of engaging a new counsel, he would be still bound by the same principles laid down by this court.
Yes, and
so he can't go beyond that.
So on judicial
When
side,
we allow a new counsel to come, he also stays within the limits of the jurisdiction.
he is bound by the pleadings which are before the court, and that would resolve the difficulty of a new person coming in, not being part of original proceedings. That might just
Mr. AG, it's Article 10 of the Constitution gives right to a person to appoint a counsel of his own choice. How bar be put on a person that you should not appoint a counsel of your own choice? वो कहते हैं आज मुझे ये वकील पसंद है, दूसरा रखता हूँ।
इसको फिर ये वही इसका जो बैलेंस है, वो बैलेंस ये हो सकता है कि आप अब जैसे कोर्ट रूम नंबर 1, I don't know if it is true or not, but there is a transcript of the proceeding.
There was some sense when this rule was made. There was some sense, but with this, it will just expand the burden which is already shoulder of this court.
My lord, as I said, आप जो इसमें एक डिफिकल्टी जो मुझे आपके जो ऑब्जर्वेशन से नजर आ रही है वो ये है कि नया वकील आके कोई नई बात ना करे जो पहले नहीं हुई, यही डिफिकल्टी हो सकती है इन सो उस पे इफ रूल 26 जो रूल 6 है ऑर्डर 26
पता कैसे चलेगा? देखे ना, वही वकील आता है तो उसको तो आप ये कह देते हैं कि भैया आप पहले आर्ग्यू कर, नया वकील आएगा उसको क्या पता पिछले वाले ने
क्या। So are you buying them by the pleadings which are already on the record?
अगर मजे की बात ये कि ये वाला प्रोविजन नहीं चैलेंज कर रहे हैं, मगर ये ठीक है। वकील कह रहे हैं इधर तो हमारी फायदे वाली बात है।
वकील कहते हैं ठीक है।
Your ladyship, if I may now address that question that you had asked, it's a question that you raised from the first hearing, and it has troubled many that what becomes of that right when in a full court hearing this matter. My friend Mr. Faisal Siddiqui has also made submissions on this, so I adopt the submissions that he had made. This is not something which is which can easily be addressed, because as far as a particular court is concerned, if the entire court is sitting, conceivably there can't be any appeal because there is no one left to hear the appeal in addition to.
No, but the question I think has been, perhaps with all due respect, misunderstood. The thrust of the question is not that. The thrust is that if there is a substantive right of appeal, and right of appeal is always substantive, that right vests when the petition is filed. 184(3) petition is filed, the right vests on that. That is the settled law. Now, the thrust of the question is this: because of this reason, and a right of appeal has to be mandatory, the power or the ability of the Supreme Court to fix, whether exercised by committee, collegium, whoever, to fix a matter before any bench strength greater than as presently constituted 7 has been taken away, because the right of appeal, being a substantive vested right, must prevail. So this is an encroachment upon the independence of the judiciary, that no bench, full court, तो बड़ी दूर की बात है, 9 member, 8 member, 10 member, 11 member, keep on counting, cannot be constituted. The hands of the court have been tied, even if it is a matter of the utmost national importance. It cannot be heard as presently constituted by more than 7. This is the question. Not कि full court बैठेगी तो full court में तो 60 के अगर 60 जज हैं तो 60 जज होंगे. Well, obviously बात है. That's not the thrust of the question. The thrust of the question is, which the question has been asked by my learned colleague from you are affecting the independence of the judiciary to hear matters in respect of, you've put a maximum cap, nothing beyond that, you can't go beyond that. Why you created this right of appeal? इसका क्या जवाब?
और इसके साथ
can it be,
just add on to this question?
If I may just say something, can it not be very, without taking extreme positions, be very reasonably resolved by saying we haven't prohibited a full court from ever meeting, nor has the law said so, nor that it should not be over a certain thing. We have spelled it out. If you, in your wisdom, which is the Supreme Court of Pakistan, considers to constitute a full court, so be it. So why could it not be resolved simply by saying this?
But can the whole point is that it's a substantive right, access to justice. So the Supreme Court in its wisdom can say, too bad to your access to justice and substantive right. In our wisdom, the full court will sit, which means whatever we decide, no appeal against that. So the question is that, can the Supreme Court do that? When the law provides a substantive right, can the Supreme Court deny that right? Or when you deny that right, there is no issue with it, so we, in our wisdom, can decide that? And that goes to the whole point of this law, कि आपने कोई wisdom को question किया है, अभी यहाँ पे कोई problem नहीं हो रही wisdom के साथ.
Let me just briefly respond to this in addition to what my Lord the Chief Justice has just observed. This situation of this sort, and I'd come to what Justice Munib Akhtar has observed, this situation could also have, a similar situation could have arisen in these proceedings. For example, if somebody had, let's say, committed a judicial contempt in these proceedings, hypothetically, what would have happened? Now, it had to go before some judge. Now, if it had, because it had happened before the entirety of full court, it could not possibly go before.
That's not a vested right.
I'm coming to it.
Right of appeal is a vested substantive right.
I'm coming to it.
You think, उसके बाद Attorney General साहब, I'm sorry to interrupt you. आप contempt of court, ये वकील या पार्टी का right है to commit contempt of court.
तो आप डायरेक्ट एग्जांपल देते हैं ना,
अपील भी
अटॉर्नी जनरल आप डायरेक्ट एग्जांपल देते हैं कि ये केस इस केस की अपील कहाँ जाएगी? आप मफरूजों में क्यों चल रहे हैं? ये भी तो हम केस सुन ही नहीं रहे ना. कोई ना कोई हमारे फैसले से खुश नहीं होगा, शायद सब ना खुश हों, हमें नहीं पता. उनकी राइट ऑफ अपील तो है ही नहीं. तो ये कानून ने कहाँ कहा है कि हर केस में अपील होगी? उन्होंने कहा एक किस्म के केसेस में जहाँ कम है वहाँ अपील होगी, राइट ऑफ अपील. कानून ये नहीं कह रहा है कि कानून ने उधर गए ही नहीं है. कानून उस जगह गए ही.
Let's read section 5. Please read it to see कि कानून क्या कह रहा है और किसको राइट दे रहा है. पढ़ें please section 5.
An appeal shall lie within 30 days from an order of bench exercising jurisdiction under clause 3 of article
184(3) की अपील लाई करेगी. इसमें तो कोई हमें confusion नहीं है ना.
Shall be read will be may. It's very simple. I mean, why do we have to? I mean, we have done it in so many cases.
One submission to this.
Again, let me make one question to you. The fact that in this case, the full court is hearing the virees. In this case, if the law is struck down, बात खत्म हो जाती है. मैं section 5 बोलूँ. If section 5, if the law is declared intra vires, I would find it rather odd for a petitioner to say, I exercise the right of appeal under section 5 for a declaration that the law including section 5 is ultra vires. So this particular case is an exception because here the very vires of that act are under attack, including section 5. इधर वो नहीं बात apply कर सकती. बात हो रही है if this law survives challenge, तो फिर जो सवाल है separation of powers और independent judiciary का कि आपने एक मैक्सिमम कैप लगा दिया जी 7 से ज़्यादा नहीं सुन सकते क्योंकि आपने एक सब्सटैंटिव वेस्टेड राइट दिया हुआ है. उसको किस तरह कोई कोर्ट एक किसी का राइट है वो टेक अवे कर ले बाय एडमिनिस्ट्रेटिव एक्ट. इज दैट व्हाट यू आर आर्ग्यूइंग?
Let me confess my mistake to constitute a full. It should have been less than the half of the number of judges of the court, so the right of appeal, if the law was sustained, would have remained.
No, I said
let me finish my thought. Would have remained, so I am certainly guilty of that. But then I'm not alone in that. Then my colleagues should not have sat in the bench at all, and they did so when 8 of them us were also sitting. Then the same question was, if this law be sustained, where will the right of appeal go? So that is not your fault. If at all a fault has been committed, I'm the first to accept my mistake to do this, but there was in need of transparency and in need of a demand. It was done, and nobody objected amongst my colleagues that the full court should not be constituted. Similarly, I assume that none of them objected when 8-member bench was constituted. There too the right of appeal had disappeared. So effectively that had become redundant. Yes. They should have said, no, we will not sit. Let a lesser bench be constituted, because if this law is sustained and if someone is aggrieved, then his right of her right of appeal go, or the government's right of appeal, or a political party's right of appeal. So इन मफरूजों से निकलें और conclude कीजिए, आगे खत्म करें. मैं सोचना भी है.
Mr. Daniel, let me clarify for you. Mr. Daniel, this is not a mafruza. I have said that this particular case is a special case, in the sense and for the reason the very vires of this law are under challenge. It is not possible that if this law is sustained, for a party challenging the very vires of the law to say, I exercise the right of appeal under section 5, for a declaration that this right of appeal that I have exercised is ultra vires the constitution. That would be completely nonsense. I am speaking of the future. I'm not speaking of this case. Because here the vires are under attack.
My lord, my brief response is this.
Suppose अगर ये law sustain कर जाता है, तो this issue can be resolved in the full court meeting. Rules में हम बना देंगे कि benches होने चाहिए या नहीं होने चाहिए. अगर
law से हट के तो कुछ नहीं बात है.
इसमें मेरा response simply would not conclude.
Said, I mean, the law, through the rules, the law cannot be changed. That is your position.
So there is nothing that can be done. This issue, you see, this goes, if you flip it around, if you, एक second, flip it around and you don't see it as a vested right, because as in an opinion has been given, it doesn't matter about the vested right. So we flip it around and we see it in the context of what can the court do and what can't the court do. So you have actually capped in order to ensure that the right is always given to a party who files 184(3) petition, you have ensured that a certain quantity से ज़्यादा बड़ी bench नहीं बनेगी, depending on the strength of the court. Now, is that not some sort of an intrusion on how the court is to work? I mean, is that not something that the court has to decide based on factors that the court understands best?
No, I don't.
Whether this precludes the other part of the judges not to hear the matter. The matter was heard by some judges in the first instance, then it was heard by the other judges in the second instance. In practical, the entire judges have heard the matter.
And I think this right, I think it is a right being conferred on, and I had briefly shown your lordships that
why are you putting it on us? Why are you putting it on us? Either you say, yes, please, there is a right, you cannot now deny anyone this right. Don't tell us that you have hope and faith. Please do that accordingly. Please be precise in what you want.
Let me make your life easy. I'll put it upon myself. Let's end it. I take responsibility. Let's move forward. You've concluded the case or not?
I have, my lord. And I just say this.
So I first of all, let me compliment the petitioners who have fought valiantly to sustain my powers and and you and the others who want to undermine them. So, but thank you very much for remaining good humor till the very end, despite some very difficult questions. And if we have said anything or any one of us which may have upset anyone, we certainly did not intend to do so. Sometimes in the heat of battle, things are said which are not really, don't mean anything. So let us end in good humor. And does it conclude the matter, or is there anything left for us to say or do?
The button, if you 5 minutes, just two very quick points.
5 minutes, certainly. Aye.
Grateful, my lord.
Aye, thank you.
Thank you for your patient hearing.
My lord, on a very lighter side, the powers which have been exercised in promulgating this law are 1752, say so. It doesn't say so that 142 has been used, read with entry 55. So my submission is that discussion on entry 55 is little superfluous. And if your lordship may allow me to refer to 175.2,
by now we memorized it.
I know.
Make the point.
I know. The point is that, and I think I would be able to make a better point if I just read, because it has to be read together.
The right of reply, no?
Very quickly. There shall be a Supreme Court of Pakistan, a High Court for each province, for Islamabad, and such other courts. So the provision is using Supreme Court and the High Court and other courts separately. And if you read 175.2, no court shall have jurisdiction save as is or may be conferred on it by the Constitution or by any other. So when 175.2 is read along with 1751, the word court does not include the Supreme Court. And if I may refer to your lordship's dissenting opinion in the Rawalpindi High Court Bar Association case, where interpreting various provisions of the Constitution, it has been concluded when the Constitution uses the words any court, that does not include the Supreme Court. So my humble submission would be that 1752, they cannot draw the power to legislate for the purposes of this law for Supreme Court, relying on 175.
Point taken.
And your lordship, again on a lighter tone, there is a world of difference between will of the people versus the will of the parliament or will of the government. So that aspect has to be taken into consideration. And your lordship,
No, sorry, there isn't any. The preamble starts that the will of the people will be expressed through their chosen representatives, which is the parliament.
That is what my point is. The chosen, and then modifying the Constitution by the will of the chosen representative has to be by 2/3 majority. So that is what the principal point is. And your lordship, again, the point in the same context is that when the Constitution has intended to confer an appeal right, that has been specifically provided by the Constitution, and there is an appeal against in the case of Article 63.
Right of reply पे रहिए ना.
जी my lord, यही right
points अब दोबारा.
My lord, वो मैंने पहले नहीं raise किया था because this is a specific provision, the specific point that has to be taken into consideration. So these are the two major points that I just thought would be relevant, because under 63A, Article 5, 2035 and 2123, there is a right of appeal which the Constitution has provided. So when we read 185, there is no right of appeal which is specifically conferred, or 184. And my lord, last point very quickly is that there has been no answer or no argument to counter the that this committee by section 2 and 3 has virtually modified Article 1843 provision. And in fact, the law itself, as your lordship was on a lighter tone saying that if the Honorable Chief Justice does not fix the case, then the law itself does not provide that the committee In how many days the committee will decide that the bench will be constituted? In how many days the committee can also likewise sit down on this? So law has to really be seen from that perspective. And I think the solution lies in your lordship looking at the rules themselves rather than any outside body. I'm very grateful, my lord, for very good.
जी आबिद साहब
जी आपकी इजाज़त से सर फेडरल शरीयत कोर्ट की जो बात की अटॉर्नी जनरल साहब ने और माय लॉर्ड जस्टिस मंदोखेल ने एक प्रोविजन फेडरल शरीयत कोर्ट के चैप्टर्स में कर दी जिसकी वजह से रूल मेकिंग पावर को सब्जेक्ट टू कॉन्स्टिट्यूशन एंड लॉ नहीं किया गया आर्टिकल 203A ये देख लीजिए सर बिकॉज इसमें सारी शरीयत कोर्ट के मुख्तलिफ प्रोविजंस की बात होती रही लेकिन दिस इज अ वेरी क्रूशल 203A capital A my lord the chapter starts 3A the chapter 3A 203A am I with your worship sir the provisions of this chapter shall have effect notwithstanding anything contained in the constitution sir. तो ये पहली constitution को that's why जो rules
किसने बनाया वो कह दीजिए ना
सर लेकिन
हिम्मत कर ले
बिल्कुल बनाया एक मार्शल लॉ के जमाने बना नहीं लेकिन सर लेकिन इसको अपहोल्ड किया और
इसको आप कह रहे सुपर कॉन्स्टिट्यूशन बनाया
मैं ये कह रहा हूँ कि 18वीं तरमीम भी तो पार्लियामेंट ने सबने मिलकर बनाई उसको चैप्टर को रखा
इज अ डिफरेंट थिंग एज अपोज्ड टू इनैक्टमेंट
सर मैं ऐसे बता रहा था कि उसके दैट इज द रीजन कि कॉन्स्टिट्यूशन को बिल्कुल इससे कर दिया और बुरी चीज है सर मैं कहूंगा ये कि उसको कॉन्स्टिट्यूशन को इसमें से इस चैप्टर से निकाल दिया गया सर एक चीज और आप इजाजत
आपके ख्याल में फेडरल शरीयत कोर्ट की बनाया जा सकता था जो अदालतें थी उनसे इख्तियारात ले करके एक अलग पैरेलल सिस्टम खड़ा कर दिया गया
सर मैं क्या बिल्कुल मैं एक पैरेलल सिस्टम जरूर खड़ा किया गया लेकिन आईन अगर कोई पैरेलल सिस्टम
आईन सही गलत ये बता
आईन तो सही है सर तो आईन जो पढ़ा जाएगा वो मैं 3 आपसे बात की जब मैंने वो जजमेंट भी साइड की थी 175 142A और एंट्री 55 ये तीनों चीज सर एक चीज बस
खामोशी
माय लॉर्ड मिस्टर जस्टिस अफरीदी ने ये सवाल किया कि जो जुरिसडिक्शन वेस्ट करती है इन द सुप्रीम कोर्ट वो अपेलेट जुरिसडिक्शन अलग होती है ओरिजिनल जुरिसडिक्शन और एडवाइजरी जुरिसडिक्शन होती है रिव्यू जुरिसडिक्शन अलग होती है एक केस अगर आपकी इजाजत से अगर नाराजगी ना हो
और एक शरीयत अपेलेट बेंच जुरिसडिक्शन भी है
हां लेकिन मेन जो मैं बात कर रहा हूं अगर हम क्योंकि हम बात करें अपेलेट सर एक केस हमेशा हमारे मुल्क में हमारे ने हमेशा फॉलो किया फ्रॉम द अमेरिकन जुरिसडिक्शन और सुप्रीम कोर्ट ऑफ अमेरिका है दिस टाइम सर मार्बरी वर्सेस मेडिसन वो आपके हमारे कोर्ट्स ने उसकी जो प्रिंसिपल्स को अप्रूव किया उसमें से अगर आपके पास मेरा मुझे नहीं मालूम ये है उसको मैंने फाइल किया हुआ है उसमें सिर्फ पढ़ दूं कि क्योंकि वहां ओरिजिनल और अपेलेट जुरिसडिक्शन का डिबेट हुई कि क्या पार्लियामेंट को पास इख्तियार था कांग्रेस के पास वो ओरिजिनल जुरिसडिक्शन दे कुड हैव ग्रांटेड अपेलेट और इंक्रीज द साइज तो उसके लिए सिर्फ मैं 2-4 लाइनें पढ़ना चाहूंगा आपको अगर आपके पास ही मेरा
पढ़ लीजिए
जी इसमें 179 पेज अगर माय लॉर्ड हैज दैट बुकलेट व्हिच आई हैड गिवन सर मैं विद योर
पढ़िए
जी इस पेज 176 ऑफ माय बुकलेट सर तो यही बात जो माय लॉर्ड मिस्टर निकाल लें सर ये बॉटम ऑफ द पेज लास्ट 10 लाइंस पेज 176 माय लॉर्ड द सुप्रीम कोर्ट शैल हैव ओरिजिनल जुरिसडिक्शन cases affecting ambassadors or and other public ministers and councils and those in which a state shall be a party. In all other cases, Supreme Court shall have appellate jurisdiction. This is the American Constitution. It has been insisted at the bar that as the original grant of jurisdiction to the Supreme and inferior courts in general and the clause assigning original jurisdiction to the Supreme Court contains no negative or restrictive word, the power remains to the legislature to assign original jurisdiction to that court. In other cases, those specified in the article, which has been recited, provided those cases belong to the judicial power of the United States. If it had been intended to leave it in the discretion of the legislature to apportion the judicial power between the supreme and inferior courts, according to the will of that body, it would certainly have been useless to have proceeded further than to have defined the judicial power and tribunals in which it should be vested. The subsequent part of section is mere surplusage, is entirely without meaning. If such is to be the construction, if Congress remains at liberty to give this court appellate jurisdiction where the Constitution has declared their jurisdiction shall be original, and original jurisdiction where the Constitution has declared it shall be appellate, the distribution of jurisdiction made in the Constitution is form without substance. Affirmative words are often in their operation negative of other objects than those affirmed, and in this case a negative or exclusive sense must be given to them or they have no operation at all. So ये मैं आपसे बताना चाहता हूँ कि
जब आपको एक बात सिर्फ बता आपको ये खुशी होगी मालूम होकर के कि हम तो अमेरिकन स्टूडेंट्स कोर्ट करते हैं और अब हमारे 2 कोलीग्स यहाँ बैठे हुए बेंच पे जिनके जजमेंट ऑन क्लाइमेट चेंज और वो وہ ہاتھی والا ججمنٹ وہ انٹرنیشنلی کوٹ ہوتا ہے. سو وی آر میکنگ انروڈز, وی آر آلسو کریٹنگ جورسپروڈنس وچ از being quoted elsewhere in the world.
انشاءاللہ یہ بھی کوٹ ہوگا سر, یہ ججمنٹ بھی سر
آپ کے تعاون سے
انشاءاللہ سر.
شکریہ.
I am grateful to your lordship, sir. Thank you, sir.
وہ چودھری صاحب ہم نے بند کر دی کتاب, پھر کھولنا پڑ رہی ہے.
2 منٹ کچھ بھی نہیں پڑھوں گا کیونکہ ججمنٹ تو میں نے پڑھی نہیں. پہلے تو یہ میں عرض کروں گا کہ اسلامک ہسٹری یا جورسپروڈنس یا اس حوالے سے بات ہوئی تو ایک روایت
یہ آپ ہمیں کچھ دیر نہ اس پہ, میں کافی انتظار کر رہا تھا کہ کوئی ملے.
میں گزارش کروں صرف 2 منٹ کیونکہ 2 پوائنٹس ہیں جن پہ میں کچھ کہنا چاہتا ہوں. ایک تو یہ کہ اگر 2 لوگ بھی ایک ساتھ سفر کریں تو اپنا امیر مقرر کر لیں. یہ وہ پرنسپل ہے جس کی بیس پہ ہمارے ہاں پیٹر فیملیا اور چیف جسٹس کے
یہ میں پرنسپل سے واقف نہیں.
بہرحال یہ روایت میں نے پڑھی.
نہیں یہ ایسے تو نہیں مانیں گے آپ. آپ کو اس کا دیجئے, کوئی حوالہ دیجئے.
میں دے دوں گا.
یہ آپ نے ایسی بات کر دی اور کہا یہ جیسے کہ ہے.
میں گزارش کروں میں اس پہ ریفرنس دوں گا.
وہ آپ نے دیا نہیں, اب ہم کیا کریں.
جی دوسری بات
جی
چودھری صاحب امیر کے حوالے سے اگر بات کریں, اگر آپ کبھی تبلیغ جماعت میں گئے, امیر تو مقرر ہوتا ہے لیکن وہ سب سے مشورے کے بعد اپنا فیصلہ بعد میں کرتا ہے. بغیر مشورے کوئی کام نہیں. یہ درست ہے. اس وقت یہ عدالت جو ہمارے سامنے موجود ہے, تمام جج صاحبان ایک اسکیم کے تحت یہاں تشریف لائے اور اپوائنٹ ہوئے, اور اس میں چیف جسٹس صاحب آئی وڈ ویری ریسپیکٹفلی سے کہ چیف جسٹس صاحب کو ایکسکلوسیو یہ اختیار بینچز بنانے کا اور ریگولیٹ کرنے کا جو ہے, اس حوالے سے میں بات کروں گا.
کیا کہتے ہیں آپ کے منہ میں گڑ شکر کیا ہوتا ہے.
صرف ہمیں تو بہرحال آپ پسند ہیں. آرٹیکل 191 جو ہے اس کو بڑے ادب سے عرض کروں گا کہ میں جو کچھ سمجھ سکا یہ انجنکٹیو ہے, یہ ڈسجنکٹیو نہیں ہے. اس کو اگر ارادہ سے پڑھیں گے تو اس کا مطلب یہ ہوگا کہ وہ لا جو ہے, لا would take away anything whenever the parliament deemed it fit to enter into the domain of the Supreme Court in rules and regulating its affairs. So اس پرٹیکولر پروویژن کو اس زاویے سے بھی کائنڈلی دیکھا جائے. اور ایک بات اور ضرور ہے, یہ چیف جسٹس صاحب کے اسٹیٹس کے حوالے سے الجہاد ٹرسٹ کے ذات خود جب سینیئرٹی
جو صاحب کا لفظ ہے نا مجھے پسند نہیں ہے.
چلیے جی, میں
چیف جسٹس کہتے ہیں میرے لیے کافی ہے.
درست. ویسے تو ہم احترام میں
نام کے ساتھ
مائی لارڈ بھی کہتے ہیں,
قاضی صاحب وائس صاحب کہتے ہیں, مطلب
مائی لارڈ بھی کہتے ہیں.
مت کہیں
جی
چلے آگے.
لیکن بصورت یہ احترام چل رہا ہے سر. اس میں الجہاد ٹرسٹ میں جو سینئرٹی کا کیس طے ہو گیا کہ آپ نے سینئر موسٹ جو ہے ان کو ہائی کورٹس میں اور سپریم کورٹ میں چیف جسٹس مقرر کرنا. باقی چیزوں کے علاوہ بیسیکلی اس میں بھی آئیڈیا یہی تھا کہ وہ جو انٹرنل رفٹس ہو سکتی ہیں, انفلوئنس فرام آؤٹ سائڈ ہو سکتا ہے ایگزیکٹو کا, اس کو اوائڈ کیا جائے تاکہ اسموتھلی کورٹس جو ہیں وہ اپنا فنکشن جو ہے وہ ادا کر سکیں. تو میں یہ گزارش کرنا چاہوں گا کہ چیف جسٹس کا استحقاق ایز چیف جسٹس وداؤٹ دی آف کورس the committee which is being suggested that may not be serving the cause of justice. That's all.
ایک بات کرنا چاہوں گا. یہ 143 میں چیف جسٹس صاحب کا جو استحقاق 73 سے لے کے آج کا چلتا رہا ہے, اس کے خلاف تو آپ لوگ سڑکوں پہ رہے ہو, اور آپ کو پتہ ہے کہ جب اپنی مرضی کا بینچ بنوا کے جس طرح ویلیڈیٹ کیا جاتا تھا ڈکٹیٹرز کو, اس کو تو آپ سڑکوں پہ تھے. آج جب 1 سے لے کے 3 کو دے دیا, کولیکٹیو وزڈم کر رہے ہیں, آپ کہتے ہیں جی یہ بہت غلط ہو رہا ہے. یہ کیوں کہہ رہے ہیں, یہ ایسا کیوں کیا جا رہا ہے؟ دیکھیں آپ کو ہم نے قرآن بھی پڑھ کے سنایا, وہاں بھی لکھا ہوا ایک اپیل کا رائٹ ہے, قرآن بھی پڑھ کے سنایا جہاں کہ آپ ایک کولیکٹیو وزڈم کر کے مشورہ کر کے کر سکتے ہیں. اگر اس کے مطابق اگر پارلیمنٹ نے فار دی فرسٹ ٹائم ایک لا بنا دیا اس تمام ڈکٹیٹرشپ کو روکنے کے لیے, تو آپ کہتے ہیں جی یہ بہت غلط ہو گیا ہے. اس کا بننا نہ بننا ایک الگ آسپیکٹ ہے, وہ آپ نے سن لی ساری بحث, اس کو ہم فیصلہ کر لیتے ہیں. لیکن اتنا تو کہیں کم از کم کہ یہ لا ٹھیک بنا ہے. आप भी कहते हैं नहीं जी रहना चाहिए एक चीफ जस्टिस को रहना चाहिए आप डिक्टेटरशिप को ना प्रमोट करें क्या हम गुलाम हो गए सारी जब से इस मुल्क को 4 दफा इन लोगों ने किया आखिरी मुशर्रफ ने किया क्या जुल्म किया हमारे साथ
अगर इजाजत
को चलने दिया ही नहीं
मैं इस कंट्रोवर्सी में नहीं जाना चाहता इसको
देखिए इंपॉर्टेंट चीजें ये हमारा मुस्तकबिल है
मैं ये देखिए
अच्छा मैं इसे भी कहना चाह रहा हूँ
थोड़ा सा
हम जरा इसमें डिस्कशन करेंगे अगर इत्तेफाक के राय हो जाती है या कोई क्लैरिटी आ जाती है तो हम अनाउंस कर देंगे नहीं तो फिर रिजर्व होगा ठीक है अगर अभी हमें नहीं पता आपस में हमें बात करना होगी कि कैसे हो रहा है तो मैं कुछ कह नहीं सकता हूँ वे रिटायर अगर जरूरत पड़ी वापस कमीन होने की तो कर देंगे नहीं तो आपको पैगाम भिजवा देंगे ठीक है
थैंक यू
शुक्रिया
Everybody, welcome to the midweek show live on Airliners Live. Hope you're doing well. Lots going on today, guys. We've already had a go around whilst we've been setting up. A member of the audience came over and told us that he saw that. And winds are not too bad at the moment, guys. Currently 9 knots straight across the runway, a direct crosswind. But we are expecting throughout today's show for that to only increase. And as we brace ourselves for Storm Agnes, which is just about to hit the UK, we'll be live until about 10 to 6 this evening. We're really going to push it. This is our last evening show of this summer season. Not that we've seen much of the summer, but there you go. And with Storm Agnes inbound, guys, we'll push it. It should be a nice quick pack down today. So yeah, 10 to 6, even 5 to 6 we may wrap up today. And we are expecting the worst of the winds to start rolling in from about 4 p.m, we think.
Is it me, or is the deflection on that rudder just like a lot bigger than usual? Maybe it's just the angle, but it looks pretty wild from here.
Yeah, it's down to it just being a direct crosswind, I think. It's blowing right against it. But welcome in, guys. Hope you're all having a great week so far. And hopefully we're going to bring you an absolutely cracking show We're both waterproofed up. I've got my waterproof coat, my gloves. We're going to be swapping over if Andy needs to at some point during the show today as well. And as I say, guys, we're looking forward to seeing some incredible pilot skills on display here on the final evening show here on Airliners Live before we switch back to an earlier schedule. We are thinking of doing a show that starts about 11 and finishes about 2 or 3, guys. Just to keep going for as long as we can for our American friends. And we'll let you know more about that in the next week or so. Well, we'll have to let you know, I guess, before Wednesday. First arrival of the day, not a bad one, in from Alicante, Jet 2757. Jeanette Cooper, hello, welcome.
What a aircraft to open the show as well. Iconic number as the channel just in the last hour or two hit 757,000 YouTube subscribers.
Just hearts in the chat, guys. What an incredible number that is. 757,000. Thank you so much, everyone.
And it's a thumbs up from the captain.
Video glitches again. A lot of video glitches, but we're completely stable here. And Andy, should we just bypass restream?
Yeah, go on.
Guys, do you mind if we do a very, very quick restart? I don't want this to affect the rest of the show. We've got perfect connection here and perfect video. So, Twitch crew, if you're watching, you're going to have to switch over to YouTube. Search for Airliners Live on YouTube, guys. We're going to have to bypass you. Everybody else, can you stand by 2 or 3 minutes, guys? Mods, keep everybody happy. Don't go anywhere, guys. We'll be right back. Stand by.
Yeah, just stay where you are. It will come back on.
Yeah, same link. You don't need to click off. You don't need to do anything. Just stay exactly where you are, guys. Stand by. we should be back, folks. Mod check. We're going to just try just routing direct to YouTube today, guys. Hopefully that resolves the issue. Thank you all for bearing with us while we did that. We didn't want to have that happening the whole show, did we?
Yep, I'm getting 4K now as well, which is good.
Awesome.
Got an A320 with the Sharklets on actually coming in next. And you were saying that we just a couple of hours ago hit 757,000 subscribers, which is pretty wild. And yeah, it just happened just before the show today. All these milestones are just catching us off guard because it's just growing so fast. This aircraft coming in from Amsterdam, EasyJet A320. Yeah, looks like we're back on. Apologies for that, folks. Thank you for your patience on that. That's an A320, all right. Airbus's most popular airliner. And I think on deliveries, isn't it the most popular in the world at the moment? Sorry, on orders, rather. The A320 family. Coming in from one of the shorter routes. Amsterdam Schiphol Airport. We've got over on Terminal 1 the Emirates A380. Just commenting on the tail, the rudder there, full left deflection, which means well, as it's not got hydraulic power at the moment, you can also just see the jet bridge on the left there retracting. The actual rudder itself is free to kind of get blown around. Big, heavy slab of metal, of course. But when the wind is blowing as ferociously as it is today, and on a crosswind as well, parallel to the aircraft, it's going to blow to the left there. When the aircraft starts to start engines, that will get hydraulic power, and as a result, it will straighten up.
John Russell just said, my telly's been on 720p the whole time. I've just switched it to 4K, and now I feel like it's there. How many shows have you been watching in 720p, John? Because you're about to have a whole different experience, my mate.
Wow.
And yes, chat, no Twitch today. If anyone is from Twitch, please go into the Twitch chat, drop the link to the stream in the Twitch chat, encourage everybody over. We're just on YouTube today because we wanted to bypass restream and see if that fixes the issue with the glitching camera. I am aware of some sort of audio interference, guys. We don't know where that's coming from. I've got absolutely no idea, to be honest. We have got one more audio cable we can try, if you would like.
Yeah, let's see if it persists.
Good mods are messaging me as well, saying it's there. I'll grab that cable just in case, guys, as well. Just 1 second.
Yeah. I'm glad you guys can hear it. All I can hear is in my ears from the wind. It is quite windy at the moment. There is a storm due in the next few hours, and some of the forecasts I've seen have been pretty wild, and pretty much a direct crosswind here at Manchester at some parts. So it could get pretty crazy, but some other forecasts don't say as wild of a wind. So although right now it's pretty choppy, as you can probably hear on the mic. Sunday was pretty windy too, but it was more consistent, and as a result it wasn't as wild for the airliners. You know, you find that when there's a nice, consistent crosswind, they're not having to sort of move the controls and stuff. They're just having to like learn the crosswind and fly with it. Whereas when it's quite gusty and variable, then that is where it becomes more of a challenge for the pilots.
Sounds like crickets, yeah. Okay, mute your tellies, guys, and I'm just going to unplug the cable.
I'll mute it on this, actually, so it doesn't actually...
So it don't pop for them.
Yeah, give me a second, guys.
Well, let's just get everything fixed at once, shall we? So we can enjoy the show.
Baltic A220, perfect time to get the audio back on, as we may experience a nice Wookiee howl from the fairly modern Airbus airliner. And this is actually doing a flight on behalf of Eurowings, coming in from Dusseldorf.
And Samantha Littlewood, thank you very much for returning for 12 months. You've now got a red tail badge. Enjoy that. Thank you very much for the long-term support.
Nice. Good job.
And Nathan Jones, thank you very much for your 6 months of Airliners Live membership, saying, I plan on popping over, but unfortunately I've caught COVID. I've got some treats being delivered to you guys via Deliveroo.
What?
I'll email you the code. No way. All right, amazing. Nice one, dude.
Is that a thing?
I don't know. I mean, it's never happened before. I guess we will find out. Thank you very much, dude. Appreciate that. And did I miss a 12 months? Lee Hale, I did a full 12 months of Airliners Live membership. Thank you very much, Lee. Appreciate that, mate, as well.
It's crazy.
Yeah, quite a lot of people are catching COVID again at the moment, aren't they, guys?
Oh, yeah.
I've heard a few people have got it. But yeah, it is just about to start raining here, and the wind is picking up at Manchester Airport. We are expecting the worst of the winds to begin to hit us around 4 p.m, guys.
Oh, wow. Are we prepared for that? We'll see. The gremlins have been out already.
Jill saying me and Gordon have both got COVID.
Oh, wow.
You're joking, Jill. So you've come back off holiday with that then?
That is strange.
Sorry to hear that, guys. I hope you're doing all right. Rest up.
Definitely.
You didn't just fancy an extra week off work there, did you, Jill? Come back off holiday, thought, oh, let's have one more week. No, I'm sure you did. I hope you're both feeling well soon. And Audrey, thank you very much for gifting an Airliners Live membership. One new member on today's show. Thank you very much, Audrey.
Thank you, Audrey. Very kind.
Yeah, Joanna, I remember that snow day back on the mound. But I wouldn't have changed it for the world, though, because I think it kind of added to the experience.
Yeah, I remember that one too. That was last winter, wasn't it? Not winter just gone, but the
winter before. That's right. We were kind of keeping our fingers crossed, weren't we, for another one of those?
Yes.
But we weren't so lucky, I'm afraid.
Yeah, but hey, we are going into the colder months now. It's not till like after the new year that you get the snow here, is it? We don't ever get snow in like November or really December.
It's quite rare for us to get relatively bad snow at all.
I know,
isn't it?
Yeah.
At least something that would sort of ground the airport to a little bit. But,
this part of Manchester's not so bad, is it? But when you go the other side, especially like
Oldham,
yeah, exactly. That neighbourhood, it gets like wild.
Yeah, it's nuts. Absolutely nuts. Joan, thank you very much, Joan, kicking the show off with 5 Airliners Live gifted memberships, putting us to 6 brand new members on today's show. Thank you very much, guys.
Thank you. That's really kind. Yeah, so who said it there in the chat? Where's it gone, that message? Neve saying that ATC in Dublin are busy today. Yeah, so this storm is coming from the Atlantic, and it's already hit Ireland, and is now transiting over to, Britain.
It's on the way.
Yeah, and it's gonna slap Manchester at some point as well. So might happen during the streams today. I've seen mixed forecasts. Some saying, like Martin saying, it could start as early as 4, maybe even 3. It's definitely picking up, though.
I mean, you can hear the wind already. And the thing is, guys, it is a direct crosswind as well.
Oh, yes.
Now, it is coming from the wrong side, though, for it to be massively turbulent from the terminals.
Yeah.
But I think it is going to be one for us to keep an eye on, especially on the approaches.
You can see there it's pretty gusty as well. So, yeah, we'll see. Well, I'm interested. The first forecasts I'd seen were on BBC Weather, which is never that reliable.
BBC's useless.
Yeah, but that was saying 40 to 50 mile an hour winds, and that is just wild. We use one called windy.com, and they have a mobile app as well, and they're really good.
Yeah, they've been the best I've found.
Yeah, it's very rare that they get it really wrong. They're a bit more advanced. It's not as easy just to get a default forecast. But I prefer to go into even the weather radar, or the wind or the gust forecast. Sam likes to look at the what's it called? The basically the power energy of the clouds that could create a storm. There's a index for that. Someone in the chat will know straight away. But in the States, when I was visiting the US, they prefer to use more weather radars and stuff, because when you look at a state like Texas, which is very flat and big, you see these huge storm clouds from miles and miles away on the weather radar, and that's kind of your heads up as to when to watch out,
Yeah.
Whereas here in the UK, the forecast is more what we look at, isn't it? And I don't know, we don't really rely on the weather anyway. If it's nice, it's nice. If it's bad, it's bad. But it's never that crazy.
Random question, but would you like an Airliners Live livery made? Well, Neil said that his friend was a professional livery designer.
Oh, yeah.
And he was going to get in touch with him and see if he could do one for us, but we'd never heard anything back on that.
Yeah.
But I would like to get one done professionally, and I think it'd be really cool. But if anyone knows anyone, feel free to put us in touch. And Matt Smith, main man, gifting an Airliners Live membership. Thank you, Matt.
Is this the first stream Matt's not been on for a while?
Say, it feels a bit weird without you here, Matt, today. So.
I know. He's the main guy now.
And I guess we can talk about Friday then.
Yeah, speaking of Matt, yeah.
Speaking of Matt Smith, ladies and gents, let's get some 10 out of 10s in the chat, because since Matt and Paul as well did the shows while we were away, we have been absolutely inundated with messages and comments of people just saying how much they enjoyed it, how nice it was great to have a change of presenters, and Matt did an absolutely incredible job on the camera and the commentary and everything like that. So, ladies and gentlemen, we've had a little chat with Matt Smith, and following the incredible feedback from the community folks, Matt Smith is going to be doing his own show as and when he can, although more regularly rather than not, on Fridays, guys. So Matt Smith Fridays are going to become a thing, and Matt's going to take control of the sticks. We are thinking of letting him do a 1080p stream rather than a 4K stream, just so that he can go anywhere around the airport and not struggle with the network. And Matt Smith Fridays are going to become a thing, guys, which is really cool. Whilst me and Andy are off, we have Fridays and Saturdays off, and it basically gives you guys another show in the week. It mixes things up, keeps it fresh, and supports Matt as well, guys. So I'm really hyped for that.
Yeah, so let us know, Matt, if there's times that you're aiming for. I think you just going to aim for the usual sort of 10. Did I even see 9 a.m. start? But again, like Martin said, it's not going to be a baked-in schedule stream. The guy is very busy. He works, a job and has a family and things that, so he can't be as committed as we are, for example. But we all know the guy. He really does make an effort, and as was shown over the last few weeks, he's consistent and reliable and does a great job.
Yeah, we're really looking forward to it. And as I say, it gives you guys an extra bonus show a lot more regularly than we can offer them. And on the days that Matt's not working on a Friday, he'll be going live for you guys. So really looking forward to that.
That's that's bonus to what we're doing already. So, and then you'll still have Henry's show usually. I think he's back this Saturday. He did say. Is he? Yeah, even though he's flying back this week, later this week, he's going to aim to do a Saturday show, which, I mean, as someone who's witnessed jet lag recently, he's quite an ambitious guy to do that, but
he's quite well travelled, isn't he? I think he's used to doing all that, but we'll see. But I'm really looking forward to that. We're going to be enjoying that and keeping an eye on it, and I'm sure as and when available, maybe a model join Matt or something like that. And if we're not doing anything, maybe one of us would join Matt at one point as well. We don't know. We're just going to have to see.
Yeah, I don't think I'm too busy this Friday, so I might even nip down if I've got time. But
I am tempted to kind of let Matt kind of find his wings as well, though, on it. And just get settled in before I start bombarding him. But I'm looking forward to it, and hope you guys are happy about that. I think it's going to be really cool.
Can we be a guest on your show, Matt? We allow us, or is that
all no-go?
Are people sick of us already?
Next to land here at Manchester, Jet 2737 from Kalamata. And we are keeping an eye on everything that's approaching today, folks. If you see anything interesting, feel free to give us a heads up.
Yeah, the A380 hasn't started to move yet. It's running a little bit late, as always. And that's currently on stand. So I've got one eye on that. As soon as the beacon comes on, we'll have a look.
If you've got one eye on that and one on the approach, you can get contact lenses to fix that.
Oh, yeah. Well, John Russell was saying earlier, about the 720 thing, because I kind of need glasses for, reading things that are far away. And I remember the first time I got glasses, and I put them on, and I was like, wow, this is like when you set your YouTube to 1080p, and it's been stuck on 480 the whole time,
Why? You've actually got bad eyes?
Yeah, it was mainly when I was in uni, and I couldn't read the board for the life of me.
Oh, right.
When it comes to driving, I'm just over the whatever you call it, threshold, so I'm fine. I don't need them, but yeah, for reading smaller things, yeah.
Oh, okay. Yeah, that's one thing I don't think. When I was a kid in school, and I'm sure they just did this to everybody, they tried to put a patch on my eye.
Oh, yeah.
Remember that?
I think I had that.
And I just said, nah, you ain't putting that patch on my eye. I didn't wear it.
I'm not having that.
So, and I've had eye tests, and they said my vision's fine.
Nice.
So, I don't know why they wanted to put a patch on my eye, but
that's weird.
To be fair, though, because Jen's got quite bad eyesight, she's got quite strong contact lenses.
Oh, does she?
Yeah, and she's due an eye test, and she asked me, and I said, Jen, I've not had an eye test in probably 9 years.
Yeah.
So I should probably go and have one done and check it.
It's like about contacts, isn't it? People could have really strong contacts or glasses or whatever, but because they're wearing the contacts, you have no idea. It just looks regular.
Hey Mel, thanks very much for tuning in.
Hello. I don't think I could do contact lenses. I don't know.
Oh, Jen's worn them that much, so she's just used to them now.
Yeah.
But Jen's wrote a really nice little introduction as well to the newsletter as well, guys, for this month. I read it yesterday, and she said she's down for doing a little intro each month of just basically saying this is what's in the newsletter, hope you're all doing well, and this is what we've been up to, kind of thing.
Yeah.
So that would be quite nice. And she's wrote the first one. I was like, wow, that's actually pretty good. Do you want to write the whole newsletter? So that'll be releasing on the 1st.
Yes.
Of the month. To be fair, though, we've literally not wrote any of the rest of it, but we will get it ready. But yeah, folks, we have just passed 757,000 subscribers, which is absolutely incredible. And to celebrate, we are doing a flash sale on our 757 LED table lamp, guys, which are absolutely awesome. Loads of you guys have got these. And for today only, we're selling them for an absolutely crazy price and really not making much on them at all for £7.57. We thought, you know what other number can we pick? And as I say, we're really not making much on them, but if you guys want to go ahead and grab yourself one while they're on the crazy price, that will finish at the end of the day today, folks. And go and get yourselves one of them if you want.
Yes, they are designed by us in-house, and they are, obviously you support the channel with your purchase too, and they're like a holographic desk display. Look great on a shelf, in a display cabinet, in the office. We have them, obviously. You probably see them quite often in the Airliners Lounge videos. And they do like all different colours. They can charge, you can run off USB power or batteries. They last quite a while on batteries as well. I'm yet to kill one on it. So yeah, go and order them. And they're in stock, of course, as well. So it's just quick shipping as well.
Oh, really, Gemma? You had one of them eye patches as well, yeah. I was really like self-conscious about it, and it was the same thing when I was younger, because I've got quite big front teeth. Everybody who's met me knows, and I was supposed to have one of those palate brace things, and I didn't like school as it was.
Okay.
And then I got this, and I couldn't speak.
Oh.
And I was doing the whole lisp thing and really struggling to speak. So I hid it under my bed and said that I'd lost it. And I never wore it. And my mum knew it was under my bed.
Right.
And I'm pretty sure she found it and said, why is this under your bed? And then I didn't wear it. And I never wore it.
Yeah.
My sister, on the other hand, just wore hers, and her teeth are great now. But I didn't wear that, and I didn't wear my eye patch, so I guess we'll find out in a few years' time whether it was to my detriment or not.
A living experiment.
Andy Park, thank you very much, mate, for the very generous £7.57 donation, celebrating the 757k subs, and saying, as promised, oh God, we've stuck a logo sticker to 26F of the 757 as photos of my vandalism on your Facebook.
Oh, no.
I would like to say publicly that we do not condone doing that, but it's very funny, Andy. Thank you very much, dude. And I wonder how long it'll stay there for is the question, because I still see photos popping up of that Airliners Live sticker on the bus.
Yes.
So that's quite funny, but thank you very much, dude.
It's a bit more subtle on a bus, whereas an airplane window, that sticker probably takes up a fair bit of it. Was it one of the car stickers, or was it one of the
No, one of the car stickers, mate. Someone was the car sticker on the bus.
Wow. I'll have to look at them photos though, Andy, in the lounge.
It's funny that, isn't it?
Yeah.
Hayden saying, make sure you get your eyes tested, because it's quite an early sign of like different health things. Yeah, I need to get it done.
Good point.
Jollop saying, an eye patch was to correct a lazy eye. I never worn mine as a kid, and now my vision's very poor in that eye. Right, okay.
Whoa.
See, I'm all right, but maybe I'm just not old enough yet.
Yeah.
We'll see. We will see.
Follow for more.
Can you make the advert for the hologram a bit smaller? You can close it, Radio Shop. Just click the little 3 dots and close it. You don't have to leave it there the whole time. Just click the little 3 dots next to it and click close, or whatever the wording is for it. I can't remember.
Dismiss, I think.
Dismiss, yeah.
That's the one.
500 likes already. Thank you very much, guys.
Wow, yeah, a lot of viewers today as well.
KLM Embraer just touching down in from Amsterdam.
Lovely blue. The bluest thing you'll see in the sky today by the looks of it. We've already got a lot of rain coming in. Maybe some spray on the runway soon.
Winds are still gusting straight across the runway. Got 150 degrees. Hey up, Mel. Hope you're doing well. And welcome into the Airliners Live midweek show, guys, where the winds are due to pick up massively towards the end of the show. So stick with the channel, get yourselves comfortable. Yeah, I need to check what's going on with this. So what is this, delivery? I've not had an email. Oh, hold on, what's this customer message here? Nathan Jones. Here's your delivery code. What's he going to do? Is he just going to come to the... Like, how's he going to find us?
What's a delivery code? Is that like an order reference? Is it?
Well, yeah, it's like an order reference.
I never order food anymore. Like,
me and Jen order from delivery quite a bit, but I'm just concerned. How's he going to know where we are?
What was the description? Just like the blokes.
Nathan, did you? What's the crack? What's going to happen? Thank you, mate. Appreciate it. I've just never had this happen before, so I don't know what to do.
That's hilarious.
We see a guy just wandering around, looking confused, just grabbing.
Well, that's it.
Just go, oi! I wonder if he's going to get charged for coming into the RVP.
I know. Well, I don't know. Has anyone ever delivered food to the RVP? I mean, it's probably not normal because you actually have a cafe here, so it's not like people need food ordering. Unless it is the cafe.
He is definitely going to get charged for parking, isn't he?
Yeah. Well, I haven't got any change to... Can we tip him on the app? Is that how we do it?
No, we can't. Mate, this is going to be awkward.
Let's just say, guys, stay tuned. This is going to be weird.
And the RVP are just going to think we don't want anything from the cafe.
Did I see that? I don't know if he sorted it. Did anyone watch Mac Aviation stream when he had the pizzas delivered on the his marathon?
It's
Domino's.
Yeah, Domino's dropped off, didn't they?
How does that? Did he go up to Southside?
Just coming to the plane spot.
Yeah, the scooter driving up to Southside.
No way.
He'll drop it at the gate. But how do we know when he's at the gate? Like, is he going to shout? It's not very close. Oi! Got a pizza for you.
Mr. Paul Davies, thank you very much for gifting an Airliners Live membership. Thank you very much. Appreciate that.
Dave Morgan just sums it up. He says, Eric tried to get a pizza delivered to Southside. Nightmare. What?
Surprised.
It's not an easy address to deliver to, is it? Like, what do you even put? Like, the hill past the Black Cat, next to the hill. The crash gate.
That gifted membership puts us to 8 new members on today's show. Thank you, guys.
Oh, you had to meet him at the end of the gate. Okay. I mean, that's what I expected. Did he get pineapple on the pizza? That's the question.
Mate, if he did, I'm not getting him on this show again.
He's banned. Right, let's have a look on the arrival, shall we? Because that's kind of... So, yeah, as Martin said, like, the winds will get really... Apparently, the storm will really hit us at like 4 p.m., which is only like an hour away, just over. And I was like, well, we'll be finished by then. But we're here till almost 6. So, wow, we're going to have a good fair bit of time getting blown around.
Yeah, it's going to be interesting. Keep an eye on it. And as we said, guys, unfortunately, this is the last show where we can stay here till 6 p.m. because it then goes to 5 p.m. closing next month. So we will be doing a show, but we'll be finishing about sort of between 2:30 and 3 p.m., I think.
Yeah, I think the last sort of things you'd want to catch there is the A380, of course, which is like, as you can see, it's meant to be an hour ago, but it sort of goes out around about now. And I think there's also the Virgin A350. Someone might be able to double check that. I don't know what days they operate. But it
just went out before.
Did it? Okay. So yeah. So obviously, if we were live earlier, we would have caught that. So the A380 would be a nice. But then again, you know, at the end of October, don't we have daylight savings as well, or is that during October? And that's going to mean the A380 is going to go out, I think, an hour before.
Yeah, when does that kick in? So, daylight saving, is that an extra hour in bed?
I think so, yeah.
Is it?
And I think it means that all the movements are an hour earlier as well, which means...
Okay, that's good. That's actually better then, isn't it?
Yeah, this 380 won't be going out at this time. It'll be going out an hour before. Assuming it's on time.
Thanks, guys, ordering those 757s. We're seeing quite a lot of orders fly through.
Oh, there's a guy downstairs for you, Martin. Go, go, go.
Oh, what? No, what?
You actually... There's a bloke actually came here with a bag. Guys, what is going on? I wish we had the multicam set up now, but we don't, especially on windier days, we don't go out of our way to use them because everything just gets drenched. Like, it's more hassle than it's worth. Good job we had the high vis on, because...
Mate, the guy just comes straight to us. He's like, oh, it's great, this, isn't it? I was like, did you get in all right? I said, this has never happened before. I said, have you done this? He's like, oh, that's really cool. So we've got a co-op bag here.
It's a co-op bag, okay. Delivery, you can get groceries on it.
It looks like it, yeah.
I think Uber Eats does that, from memory.
Let's have a look. I do wonder... what the guys on the gate are going to say when we leave in a bit.
I was saying it's a shame we haven't got the multicam set up, because this would have been interesting. Martin is now opening the bag.
Who wants to put... So it's co-op, guys. Who wants to put a bet in the chat what's going to be inside the bag? There's quite a bit, to be fair.
Is there?
Thank you very much, Nathan, for sorting this, by the way. It's very, very kind of you. Oh, my days.
Oh?
Mate. This is God tier.
You need to get a picture of it all, so at least we can...
Oh my days.
At least we can show people.
What a nice guy. Mate, not only has he got some stuff, he's been super thoughtful as well.
Oh.
So, we got a nice selection of snacks here, guys.
I suppose I could, like, show it off one thing, but it would be pretty whack if I turn the camera around.
So, there's some chocolate cornflake bites, millionaire bites, right? Flapjacks. And then for the non-dairy, all free from cookies, millionaire bites, and
nice.
Rocky Road things. Mate, yo, Nathan, what a legend.
Nice.
Thank you very much, dude. That is very kind of you, mate. What a nice one. It's got some 10 out of 10s, Airlines Live Hearts in the chat.
That's very kind.
That's very, very kind of you, mate.
A lot of people put pork pies in the chat.
I know.
What's the pork pie, sorry?
No. It was sweet treats. You got to keep the energy up, you know what I mean?
Thank you. That was so random, but...
That's very kind of you, mate. Appreciate that very much. Thank you very much, dude.
Just get a picture of them.
Apparently I've got a message from Seb on Discord. Let me check. Hold on.
Just as this Jet 2737 Boeing airliner touches down.
He didn't ask me for the code either.
Oh, right. It's just...
Very soon, Seb. So, in answer to your question, yes, we all need to get back on that, not just you, mate. Yes, we all need to be getting that finished. So, I'll probably catch up with you tomorrow if you're available, mate.
Just vacating here, 23 right. Also at 4 o'clock as well, so just over an hour. They should be scaling down to single runway ops as well, so
yes,
we'll have all the action here on runway 1.
I mean, to be fair, we are kind of focusing on the rivals today, aren't we, anyway?
Yeah.
But
it'd be nice to
I think it'd be awesome to do that. Mate, I feel like before the cafe closes, we're going to have to get a nice coffee, Andy, to have with these, eh? Nice black coffee.
That wouldn't be a bad show. Well, I'll have a... They do tea, do they?
They do tea, yeah.
I'd have just a black tea would be...
Right, I'll go and grab you a tea, and I'll grab me a coffee. I think, because last time, I'm sure they closed, didn't they? About 3 or 4.
Yeah, I'm not sure.
BRB chat.
Diet's gone, I know.
Oh, wait, mate, that went a long time ago.
Thing is, right, obviously I was on that diet from April, and I'm basically still on it. But certainly for the US, when I was over there, I kind of pushed it a little bit, shall we say. I enjoyed a bit of the local cuisine. Although when you're in Texas, a lot of it's like meat anyway, like Texas barbecue is huge, and that's just meat. But I, and Sam as well, Sam probably more than me, we love pumpkin pie, and sweet potato pie as well. It's really nice. And you just don't get them in the UK. And pumpkin pie especially is god tier. And it's really big in the south of the US. And it's in season at the moment as well. So we're going to Walmart, going out, ordering pumpkin pie. 10 out of 10, guys. 10 out of 10. We managed to bring some ingredients back. We had to do a bit of research about what we were allowed to bring back into the UK. And I think we've got some ingredients that we'll be able to create our own in the kitchen. But yeah, and also going to the US, I kind of just pigged out. And having lost a lot of weight, I didn't really put much back on. I thought I would have been come back and been back to where I started. But then again, we did sweat a lot. It was 40 degrees Celsius every day, pretty much 100 Fahrenheit plus. So, yeah, it was, we probably sweated a lot of it off, to be fair. I feel like we had this pumpkin pie chat last year. Yeah, Mel. Nothing changed. Well remembered. It's elite. I love how you guys remember that. Wild. Better memory than me for sure. So yeah, the wind is getting pretty gnarly. It's like raining at a very small level, enough to just soak everything. With this wind blowing directly into the camera. Got a Ryanair Max 8200 going over to runway 2 at the moment. Like I said, just over an hour left of dual runway operations at Manchester Airport, and I believe that current schedule of dual runway ops versus single runway ops ends in the end of October. We used to rely heavily on Alpha 5, and rest in peace, because he sadly passed away. I think it was last month or the month before.